Chapter 1891. After all, Luo Jiuchen was an old fox. He knew that Ning Xuema was thinking of ways to reject him. If she tried to force him, he would most likely force her to submit. However, looking at her coquettish and angry appearance, he was unable to use any of his methods. Forget it, he had plenty of time to slowly grind with her. He wasn't in a hurry. He also wanted to use his charm to break her heart and make her truly his. Ning Xuema had already begun to wander around the peak. Didn't you want to see the heavenly Tao stone? Where is it? Why can't I see it? Luo Jiuchen smiled slightly. I'll make it appear now. He formed an insignia with his fingers. A purple light emitted from his fingertips and circled around the peak. When the purple light dissipated, a snow-white boulder appeared. Ning Xuema's gaze fell on the boulder. She was no stranger to this boulder. She had seen it before when she was with Xinjiuli in her dream. So this was the heavenly Tao stone. Xinjiuli was the guardian of the heavenly Tao stone. He could understand the warning on the heavenly Tao stone. When he said that there was no such warning as gods and demons falling in love will cause the heavenly tribulation, it really wasn't. Luo Jiuchen sounded proud. Only its guardian can make the heavenly Tao stone appear. Oh, do you believe that I'm a god now? Ning Xuema was disdainful. It's just a white boulder. How can you prove that it's the heavenly Tao stone? She naturally knew that it was the heavenly Tao stone. After all, she saw it 50,000 years ago when she transmigrated. Although Xinjiuli didn't explain it to her, she could see that it was unusual. She calmly looked at the heavenly Tao stone and found that it seemed to be different from 50,000 years ago. 50,000 years ago it was snow white. There were various characters on it that she couldn't understand. The spiritual energy was so strong that she felt like she was going to fall into it at first glance. But now it was milky white. Although it was shiny, she couldn't see much spiritual energy. She had already walked around it 3 times, but she didn't feel any discomfort. Luo Jiuchen sighed softly. When the first guardian of the heavenly Tao stone dies, the heavenly Tao stone will automatically close. A second guardian must be qualified to open it again for it to show its spirituality. Then open it and let me take a look. Luo Jiuchen shook his head. Not yet. I have yet to officially become a guardian, but it will be soon. Ning Xuema yawned. Then let's wait until you become an official guardian. She turned around and flew away from the peak. Luo Jiuchen watched her figure disappear into the night. His eyes flashed and his fingers slowly clenched. This girl has become much smarter. I'm afraid it won't be easy to get her. However, he liked challenges. The more difficult it was to get a woman, the more he wanted to chase after her. That way he would feel a greater sense of accomplishment after he got her. However, it didn't seem to have much effect if he kept chasing her gently. Perhaps he should use some strong medicine? He took 2 steps forward. Suddenly he seemed to remember something and stopped. This girl's character had always been amenable to coaxing but not coercion. If he pushed her too hard, he was afraid that she would fight to the death with him. That would not be worth the loss. Moreover, looking at her current appearance, she seemed to have loosened up. If he pushed her too hard, he might mess things up. Forget it. I'll wait a few more days. Chapter 1892. He looked at the white stone again. If he wanted to be the guardian of the heavenly law stone, he had to fulfill the 3 conditions set by Shen Yanma. Now, he had fulfilled 2 of the 3 conditions, but the little thing still refused to tell him the 3rd one. It was a headache for him. If it were not for the rule that he could not force the person who set him free, he would have used harsh means to force the little thing to do so. The next few days were still peaceful. Ning Xuema's injuries were mostly healed. In the past few days, Luo Jiuchen was still trying his best to please her. Ning Xuema pretended to be polite to him and kept a distance between them. She didn't want him to stake everything on a desperate attempt, but she also didn't want him to take advantage of her. That night, she decided to sleep in the side chamber. She still had a sliver of hope in her heart and wanted to continue that dream. However, she did not know what was wrong. She did not have the dream again. The more contact she had with Luo Jiuchen, the more frightened Ning Xuema was. Luo Jiuchen's kung fu was unfathomable. If Xinjiuli's kung fu could be compared to the Pacific Ocean, then Luo Jiuchen's kung fu could be compared to the Atlantic Ocean. When she was at her peak, her kung fu could only be compared to the Arctic Ocean. Even if she wasn't injured, she wouldn't be this person's match if they really fought. She would most likely be at a disadvantage. Luo Jiuchen probably thought of this, so he was not afraid that she would deliberately delay her recovery. However, this person's patience seemed to be getting less and less. Every time he saw her, his eyes were getting hotter and hotter. Even little Nianma could see that something was wrong. Once, the little guy jumped out and blocked Luo Jiuchen's eyes. He scolded him sternly, "Don't look at my mother like that." Luo Jiuchen's self-control was really good. He waved his fan and smiled. "Little Nianma, is this the third condition you have for me?" Ning Xuema was afraid that her son would agree to it out of anger. She immediately hugged her son in her arms and stuffed an apple into his mouth. Then she smiled and said, "You are joking. You are the guardian of the future. Of course, such a condition can't be ignored. Sir, please don't mislead the child. Otherwise it will bring shame to your identity." She easily changed the topic. "Nianma, don't mention the third condition. If he can't fulfill the third condition, he won't be able to regain his status as the guardian of the heavenly Tao. Your father still has hope of coming back. Once he completes the third condition, your father might not be able to come back." Ning Xuema educated her son when they were resting at night. Shen Yanma nodded. "All right, I will not mention it again." Ning Xuema was worried that Luo Jiuchen would plot against Nianma when he was asleep, so she did not allow her son to sleep alone. Instead, he rested with her in the side chamber. "Mother, don't tell me you don't want father anymore?" Little Nianma was still worried. After all, he was still young. He always felt that his mother was too polite to Luo Jiuchen. Moreover, both of them seemed to get along well. This made him feel a little uneasy for his father. "No, your father will be my mother's husband forever. I will try to make him come back so that our family of three can reunite." Ning Xuema's tone was firm. Little Nianma heaved a sigh of relief and rushed into her arms. "Mother, I miss father." "I miss you too." Ning Xuema silently added in her heart. "Nianma, I will visit Mother Earth again tomorrow. Can you stay at home alone?" Mother Earth had seen quite a number of men of the highest quality in her life, but there were very few who were as beautiful as the one in front of her. Only the former venerable sovereign and the little demon who died here could compete with him. More importantly, this person's aura was extremely strong, and his skills were unfathomable. If she didn't open the Lifefire Palace's door herself, even if an atomic bomb was used to blast it open, it might not be able to do so. She didn't expect that this man would be able to do so with a single palm strike. Mother Earth's gaze shrunk, and she sized up that violet-robed young man. She spat out two words, "Subgod?" That purple-clothed man's smile was cultured and refined, but his actions weren't cultured and refined at all. He pointed the fan in his hand diagonally, and Mother Earth, who was originally rooted to the ground, gave a mournful cry as her entire body was uprooted. This kind of forceful uprooting naturally injured her roots, and many of them were already dripping with fresh blood. Chapter 1894. That wasn't all. A huge brazier suddenly appeared under her body, and there were flames dancing wildly in it. Mother Earth curled up her roots and screamed, "Hey, what are you doing? Let's talk nicely." The purple-clothed man stood with his arms crossed and smiled brightly. "It seems that you do have some skills. You actually saw through my real identity with a single glance. I also want to talk nicely to you, but I'm afraid you won't be honest and will say some nonsense to fool me. Therefore I'll roast you first. Bear with it and consider if you're lying or not." Mother Earth was severely injured in the hands of Ning Xuema, and she had less than half of her power left. She was naturally no match for this man in purple now. She, who was so strong, was like a little chick in the hands of this man in purple. She didn't even have the strength to resist. The man in purple had cast an unknown spell on her body, and all of her roots couldn't move freely. It was as if they were tied up and they slowly fell towards the brazier. This fire wasn't ordinary fire, but a blazing fire that could burn everything. Its temperature was even higher than lava. Amidst Mother Earth's screams, one of her roots seemed to have been ripped apart by someone, and it directly fell into the brazier. With a boom, it burst into flames. These roots were Mother Earth's legs, and being burned like this, she was literally crying for her parents. She hurriedly begged the man in purple for mercy. The man in purple saw that half of the roots were burned, and only then did he ask leisurely, "Who am I?" Mother Earth blurted out, "Subgod." The handsome face of the man in purple sank. "Looks like your eyesight is blurry." With a flick of his finger, a purple light tore apart her second root, and it slowly pulled her towards the brazier. Mother Earth was scared out of her wits, and she finally understood. "Master God, you're the Master God. Pay respects to the Master God." She endured the pain and bowed to the man in purple. The man in purple smiled and accepted it. He seemed to be satisfied with this answer. Not only did he let go of her second root, He even flicked out a blue light to extinguish the flames on her first root. In that case, I'll ask you a second question. You have to think carefully before answering. Mother Earth nodded repeatedly. You know what happened over 50,000 years ago? Mother Earth nodded again. Then let me ask you, what is the so-called gods and devils can't coexist, and gods and devils in love will definitely attract heavenly tribulation? Mother Earth froze and was slightly troubled. I can't say it, otherwise I will be punished by the heavenly Tao. Fear appeared on her face. Since the Supreme Divinity is the guardian of the heavenly axiom, you should know how harsh the punishment of the heavenly axiom is. The purple-robed man laughed again. You are afraid that the heavenly Tao will punish you. Aren't you afraid that I will punish you now? His smile was too cold and Mother Earth trembled in fear. However, she still stubbornly closed her eyes and took in a deep breath. Being tortured by Sire is only temporary, but if I go against the heavenly Tao, I will be tortured for eternity. The purple-robed man sighed softly. That's right. You're right. You shouldn't have said it. But if you don't tell me, I won't be happy. When I'm unhappy, I want to use some special methods to make myself happy. I hope that your Excellency's bones are tough enough to resist some of my methods. He spoke so much like a tongue twister, and Mother Earth was slightly dizzy from his twisting. For a moment she didn't understand what he meant. But soon she understood. Chapter 1895. The fingers of the man in purple were very slender and perfect. His skinning technique was also very perfect. Mother Earth's delicate skin that she was proud of was peeled open by his hands, and he tore it off bit by bit. Amidst Mother Earth's ghostly wails and howls, he was still smiling leisurely. I love skinning beauties the most. I didn't expect your skin to be so good at your age. Mother Earth would never have thought that this god's methods would be so cruel. He was even crueler than all the devils. Her blood-curdling screams almost broke through the roof of the palace, but the purple-clothed man peeled it off rather slowly, as if he was embroidering a flower. He peeled it off bit by bit and even spoke casually, "You have to bear with it. Your beauty skin is too beautiful. I can't bear to tear it even a little, lest I ruin its perfection. That's why I'm peeling it a little slower. Also, you're bleeding too much. I'll use the fire in the basin to roast it." Mother Earth's body trembled like leaves in the rain. She finally opened her mouth without caring about anything. Stop. Stop. I'll talk. The man in purple seemed to want to continue. I'm not done yet. It's boring for you to say it now. Why don't you carry it for a while more? Mother Earth's voice changed. I'll say it now. That saying is actually caused by Devil Master Shuama's curse. She was betrayed by the god and cast this curse before she died. The man in purple stopped and sighed. So that's how it is. This is slightly troublesome. Can this curse be broken? Mother Earth was simply afraid of his cruel methods. She was afraid he would torture her again, so she just spilled the beans. It's not easy to break this curse unless you can reverse time and go back to 50,000 years ago to rewrite the history of that time. The man in purple frowned. Reverse time? That's impossible. In that case, I can't marry her either? Mother Earth was stunned. She wanted to say something but stopped. The man in purple immediately sensed her abnormality. Say it quickly. I can say it, but I have to ask you to promise me a condition. The man in purple clenched his fists. I hate it when people haggle the most. Mother Earth hurriedly said, my condition is very easy for you to fulfill. As long as you can do it, I'll tell you everything I know. All right, tell me about it first. This queen does not wish to be punished by the heavenly Tao. After this queen is done speaking, I request that your excellency use divine arts to kill this queen completely and disperse my soul completely. Only a god can do that. The purple-robed man's eyes turned slightly and he happily replied, all right. I promise you. Only then did Mother Earth say what she wanted to say. That Devil Master Shuama's curse back then was mainly targeted at the previous god, Shinjioli. She was afraid that she would fall in love with him after reincarnating, so she wrote, never love a god in all lifetimes, love will die. If you become a demon again and love the supreme divinity wrongly, you will trigger the divine punishment and bury the entire 6 realms with you. If you want to seal Zisha, you have to sacrifice a god and a demon. Only one of the two is left. The person sacrificing himself will be completely destroyed and will never be reincarnated. The purple-robed man's eyes lit up. You're saying that her curse is only targeted at Shinjioli? Then it should be fine for her to marry me? Mother Earth took a deep breath. That should be the case. The purple-robed man gave it some thought and asked again, do you have a way to reverse time? Mother Earth looked at him carefully and shook her head. No. Chapter 1896. The man in purple asked again, if someone can travel back in time and go back to 50,000 years ago to change history, what will happen? Mother Earth shook her head. I don't know. If the change is not too drastic, it will be fine. If the change is too drastic, the things that happen later will not happen again. The 6 realms will be reshuffled, and the people or things that shouldn't be there will disappear automatically. The man in purple finally smiled. This time it was a satisfied smile. That's great. Initially, he was worried that Ning Xuema would have the ability to travel back in time to change history. Now he was not afraid anymore. She still had little Nianma. If the change was too drastic, everything would disappear, including little Nianma. She couldn't bear it. Initially, he felt that the little guy was an eyesore, but now he felt that the little guy's existence was a weight in his hands. He already knew what he wanted to know. The man in purple smiled and gently reattached the peeled skin to Mother Earth. This action naturally made Mother Earth howl a few times. He smiled gently. I always have a tender heart for women. This skin can still grow back after I reattach it to you. It's just that it hurts a little. Mother Earth trembled violently. Please keep your promise and give me a quick death. Why are you in such a hurry? Since I have promised you, I won't go back on my words. However, I still have some use for you, so I have to let you live for a few more days. If Mother Earth could set up the lightning, she would directly strike this devil-like subgod to death. The man in purple continued, tomorrow or the day after, Devil Master Xuema will come again. She will probably ask you some questions. If she asks about whether Shinjuli can be resurrected, make her as desperate as possible. He gave her a lot of instructions. Although Mother Earth hated him, she had to listen to him. She nodded repeatedly and agreed. The purple-clothed man added, don't try to play tricks on me. I'll follow her quietly tomorrow. If you say something you shouldn't say, Mother Earth kowtowed repeatedly and said that she wouldn't dare to. The man in purple was indeed very capable. Not only did he reattach Mother Earth's skin, but he also reattached her burned roots. When he was done, Mother Earth looked the same as before. He couldn't tell that she had been tortured at all. The purple-clothed man circled around her 2 more times and found that there were no more flaws. Only then did he turn around and leave. Mother Earth looked at his back view disappearing outside the door, and a sinister look appeared in her eyes. After a while, she tilted her head and listened carefully. She heard that the fiend had indeed left her territory. She could even feel the trace of his departure. She let out a long sigh of relief and sneered in a low voice. Demon Master Xuema's curse was not to fall in love with any god, not just Shinjuli. If you really marry her, it will definitely be a disaster. Ah. She laughed maniacally. She did not care whether the 6 realms would experience a catastrophe or not. She was about to die anyway. Although the purple-clothed man had healed her, that was only on the surface. Her entire body was still in excruciating pain. How he wished he could kill himself. However, her body also had an abnormal problem. She was unable to kill herself and could only rely on external forces. However, if it wasn't for the gods, other people could only kill her body. Her soul would still be alive. At first she was very glad that she had this skill, but now she hated it very much. Otherwise, she wouldn't have to be controlled by that fiend even in death. She had never suffered such a huge loss in her life. Back then, when the Devil Master came, he didn't use such cruel methods to torture her. He even made her offend the heavenly Tao completely. She hated that purple-clothed man so much that she gritted her teeth, but there was nothing she could do. She was trembling and laughing when a voice suddenly sounded out from behind her. This person caused you so much trouble. Do you want revenge? Do you want to cooperate with me? Chapter 1897. Mother Earth suddenly turned back and was stunned. Behind her, a woman in red floated in the air. Xuema Devil Master. Mother Earth had suffered under Ning Xuema before, so it wasn't easy for Ning Xuema to gain her trust with just a few words. In the beginning, Mother Earth even suspected that Ning Xuema was a spy sent by the god that time to sound her out. Therefore, she was on her guard and made up her mind not to say anything. Ning Xuema didn't waste time talking to her. After she appeared, she started to treat Mother Earth's injuries. Her medical expertise could be considered to have reached perfection. Mother Earth was originally in so much pain that she was about to go crazy, but after her treatment the pain lessened by quite a bit. At least it was within a tolerable range. Ning Xuema then said a few words to dispel half of Mother Earth's doubts. Have you heard of the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend? The one I like is Shinjuli and I want him to come back. However, after this person ascends to the position of a god, my husband is destined to never come back. Therefore, I have to kill him no matter what. Do you know a way to kill him? Or where is his weakness? Mother Earth's abilities might not be the highest, but her ability to gather information was still top-notch. She knew the general situation of Ning Xuema and Xinjiuli in this world. She also understood the relationship between Ning Xuema and Xinjiuli very well. Hearing Ning Xuema say this, she believed her about 70 to 80%. The two of them conversed for a while more, and Mother Earth stretched all her roots out to the periphery of Lifire Palace. After confirming that Luo Jiuchen wasn't eavesdropping outside, she was slightly at ease. She naturally hated Luo Jiuchen so much that she wanted to kill him, but it was a pity she couldn't get out and couldn't take revenge. Now that Ning Xuema asked, she had to tell her. Ning Xuema's appearance this time was mainly to ask Mother Earth 3 questions. 1 was Xuema's weakness, 2 was the general grudge between Xuema and Xinjiuli 50,000 years ago, and 3 was the path of time travel. It had to be said that Mother Earth was indeed someone who had lived for God knows how many tens of thousands of years. She was extraordinarily knowledgeable. Other than the third question that she couldn't give Ning Xuema a clear answer, the first 2 questions were rather clear. As a reward, Ning Xuema left behind a few powerful painkillers for her. These painkillers were 10 times more effective than modern painkillers like Dolantin. After Mother Earth ate 1 pill, the burning pain in her body finally disappeared. She was very satisfied. She had already violated the heavenly Tao and couldn't live anymore. She only wanted to live comfortably until the day her soul dissipated. As for other things, they weren't important anymore. The two of them decided on the show they were going to perform when she returned the next day. Who would have thought that 2 people who were originally enemies would join hands one day? When Ning Xuema left, he felt a little rueful. There were no eternal enemies, and sometimes, enemies could become allies. The next day Ning Xuema came again as expected and performed a show with Mother Earth. Ning Xuema was very good at acting, and Mother Earth also cooperated seamlessly, successfully fooling the eyes of Luo Jiuchen, who had followed her secretly. During this show, Mother Earth told her that Xinjiuli had disappeared and would never return. She advised her not to struggle needlessly and to make other plans. She also told her that gods and devils couldn't love each other meant that she and Xinjiuli couldn't love each other for eternity. If they loved each other, they would be punished by the heavens. However, if they married other gods, they wouldn't have to worry about this. All of these conversations made Luo Jiuchen very satisfied. Chapter 1898. He watched as Ning Xuema walked away in a daze after asking a few questions. His lips curled up slightly. He was a man of his words when he appeared in front of Mother Earth. Finally, he gave Mother Earth a quick death and set her free. At the foot of Mount Jiai, Ning Xuema stood there and looked up at the mountain peak in a daze. After a while, she took out a few offerings and placed them on the ground. Xinjiuli, are you really not coming back? How can you be so cruel? What about Nianmo and I? Her tears fell like rain and she knelt there for a long time. There was a cracking sound behind her, and Ning Xuema suddenly turned around. Who is it? A figure in purple appeared, and his eyes were full of love. Imo. When Ning Xuema saw him, her eyes were suspicious. What are you doing here? Are you following me? When she said the last 4 words, her voice was a little harsh. Luo Jiuchen sighed softly. I couldn't find you in Fantian Palace, so I came down to look for you. I thought you were here. Ning Xuema still had 2 drops of tears in the corner of her eyes, and she seemed to not believe what he said. Have you been following me since I left the palace? Suddenly she seemed to have thought of something and her face changed. She blurted out, then what about Mother Earth and I? She suddenly seemed to realize that she had said something wrong, so she stopped talking. Luo Jiuchen looked at her and saw that her pretty face was unusually pale. She indeed looked like she had suffered a blow, and it didn't look like she was faking it. Initially he was a little suspicious about the meeting between Ning Xuema and Mother Earth, but when he saw her expression at this moment, his suspicion disappeared without a trace. He took a step forward. Imo, I am just worried about you. Looking at Ning Xuema's teary eyes, he couldn't help but sigh. Alright, I admit it. When you left the palace, I was already aware of it. I was afraid that you would take things too hard, so I followed behind you. However, I was only following you in secret to protect you from harm. After all, this underground journey is very dangerous. I was worried about letting you go alone. Ning Xuema pursed her lips. She was unhappy in her heart, so her words were blunt. In any case, I'm still the Devil Master. This underground trip won't be a problem for me. Why would I need your help? I hate it when people follow me. The more she threw a tantrum, the more it seemed like a normal reaction, so Luo Jiuchen was more relieved. He didn't argue with her. "Amo, I know you're in a bad mood. Why don't I take you out for a drink?" At this moment, Ning Xuema. "Not interested. You want to take advantage of me?" Luo Jiuchen. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "You think too much of me, don't you? If I want a woman, I need her to be willing, only then will it be interesting." Ning Xuema gave him a glance. "Then remember what you said. Don't follow me, I want to be alone." She flew away and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Luo Jiuchen stood on the spot and looked at her disappearing figure. He shook his head slightly and finally relaxed. When a person is sad and hopeless to the extreme, they would become irritable and speak harshly to everyone. Ning Xuema's current actions were in line with this point. Luo Jiuchen had Sima Yi's personality. He was suspicious by nature and liked to seek confirmation from many people, afraid of being tricked by others. That was why he had appeared to test Ning Xuema's reaction. Ning Xuema's reaction made him very satisfied, and he no longer suspected that Mother Earth was playing tricks on him. Chapter 1899. As for Xuema, he believed that he would deal with her forever and ever, it was just a matter of time. He raised his head to look at the mountain where Shinjuli was buried, and his lips curled into a smile. "Shinjuli, you must have never thought that this day would come, right? Your god position is mine, your wife will also be mine. Everything about you will be mine. If you know this in the underworld, despair to your heart's content." He opened his hand towards the midday sun, and Mother Earth's soul screamed in his palm. She tossed and turned in pain. You said you could make my soul scatter." Luo Jiuchen narrowed his eyes and looked at his palm that was shining on by the sun. It was as if it had been poured into sulfuric acid, and his voice was gentle. "Your soul can also scatter under the sun, I'm not lying to you. You need to use divine power." That soul tossed and turned even more violently. Luo Jiuchen gave a gorgeous smile. "If I can use the simplest method, why would I waste divine power? Just bear with it and you will be free. Furthermore, only by dying like this can the next Mother Earth be born, and only then will this continent not be overturned." He wouldn't waste divine power on someone unrelated to him. Psychokinesis, inner energy and stamina could all be regenerated very quickly, but divine power was extremely hard to regenerate. Every time it was used, it couldn't be recovered even after 1,000 years. What Mother Earth's soul was most afraid of was being exposed to the sun. To it, this kind of exposure to the sun was equivalent to being thrown into a pan of oil. She struggled and wailed in his palm for a long time before slowly dissipating. "You will receive your retribution." This was what Mother Earth said before she completely dissipated. When she said this, she even smiled, and that smile made the heart of Luo Jiuchen, who was always ruthless, tighten. He wanted to ask her again, but she had already scattered with the sun. Her soul had completely scattered. Luo Jiuchen stood on the spot for a moment and he shook his head. When a person was tortured to death, they would usually say a few ruthless words. Mother Earth's ruthless words could be said to be common. If he didn't test Ning Xuema again, he might have been suspicious, but now there was no need for him to take this to heart. Everything was under his control. In this world, the only person he was afraid of was Shinjuli. Now that Shinjuli's soul had dissipated, he was the strongest person in this world. There was no need for him to have any scruples. As for Xuema, she was a rose with thorns. Sooner or later, he would pull out all the thorns on her body and hold her in his hands. Demon Master, in this world only she was worthy of him. He would make her his god empress. The more he thought about it, the happier he became. The depression of being locked up for 50,000 years had finally dissipated. Red gauze curtains and festive decorations. This was the secret room that Shinjuli had set up as a bridal chamber. Other than the two of them, no one else knew about it. And now, this place had become Ning Xuema's medicine refining place. Yes, alchemy. Mother Earth told her that Luo Jiuchen was a subgod after all, so he couldn't be killed easily. Unless the purple fiend erupted again and made him willing to be a sacrifice, it was impossible to kill him completely with human strength. They could only seal him. It wasn't easy to seal him and they had to severely injure him. However, this person wasn't much different from a god. It was hard to even break a hole in his body, let alone severely injure him. However, he had one more flaw compared to a true master god. He was afraid of heavenly water poison. As long as this poison was smeared on a weapon and slashed on his body, it could injure him and break his invulnerability spell. Chapter 1900. This was the only way to deal with him. However, the poison of heavenly water was extremely difficult to make. It required a level 9 alchemy skill, but her skill was only at level 7. Even if she had the materials, she could not make it in such a short time. Moreover, the materials needed to make this thing were very complicated. It required 49 of the most difficult herbs in the world to find. In this secret chamber there were already 46 herbs, but 3 of the most important ones were still missing. Because they needed to be made separately, Ning Xuema planned to make these 46 herbs together first. Then she would take Nianma to find the other 3 herbs. The fire in the alchemy furnace was burning fiercely, and it reflected her shining eyes. It had been half a month since they returned from Mother Earth. Luo Jiuchen had made up his mind to slowly move her. In this half a month, other than chatting and drinking tea with her from time to time, he did not do anything inappropriate. On the other hand, Ning Xuema looked as if she had just found out the truth. She locked herself in Xinjiuli's study room and did not come out easily. She was not polite to Luo Jiuchen either. He came to invite her 10 times, but she might not come out even once. Luo Jiuchen knew that she needed time to recover, so he did not force her. Xinjiuli was already dead. What could she do as a woman? The Devil Master's kung fu was indeed good, but compared to a subgod like him, it was still lacking. He was not afraid of what she could do. In the past few days when he was free, he wandered around the 6 worlds to understand the current structure of the 6 worlds. Therefore he was also very busy and was not often in the Fantian Palace. Of course he was suspicious by nature, so he often planted all kinds of spies around her. For example, the butterfly that could repeat the conversation of people, to understand Ning Xuema's every move. He did not expect that Ning Xuema also installed an extremely small tracking device on him. Ning Xuema used to be a secret agent, so she was naturally familiar with some of the modern things. As long as she understood the principles of the modern things, she could easily change the raw materials to make them. Luo Jiuchen often gave her things and occasionally she would give him a gift in return. The gifts were very light, either a pen or a jade button. She seemed to have given it to him casually, so Luo Jiuchen didn't have much suspicion. Of course he still checked the things she gave him. His skills were indeed high, but he did not understand these modern things. Other than feeling that the magnetic field of these things was slightly strange, he did not feel that they were dangerous. In order to make Ning Xuema happy, he always carried her gifts with him so that when they met, she could see them and feel touched. What he didn't know was that because of these things, Ning Xuema knew his whereabouts like the back of her hand, so she could make her own plans. During the day she would either practice, drink, or practice martial arts with Nianma. At night, she would bring Nianma to rest in the side chamber. The butterfly that Luo Jiuchen sent out also consumed a lot of spiritual power, so he usually sent it out during the day. When it was late at night, when Ning Xuema and her mother were resting, he would take back the butterfly and listen to it report on Ning Xuema's schedule for the day. Then he would burn it and send a new one the next day. Perhaps he was afraid that Ning Xuema would be suspicious, so he sent a different butterfly every time, just like the other butterflies in the garden of Fantian Palace. He thought that even if Ning Xuema saw it, she would not notice it. Of course, there were also times when small accidents happened. For example, there was once when Ning Xuema brought her son to play in the garden, and the butterfly he sent landed on a flower not far behind the mother and son pair. Chapter 1901. Of course, there were also some small accidents. For example, there was one time when Ning Xuema took her son to the garden to relax. The butterfly that he sent landed on a flower not far behind them. When Shen Nianma saw it, little Nianma suddenly had the urge to catch the butterfly. The butterfly could not escape in time and fell into little Nianma's hands. He accidentally tore off 2 of its wings and pulled off its head. Therefore, when Luo Jiuchen recalled the butterfly at night, he only recalled its broken body. He could no longer report the conversation between the mother and daughter. Therefore, after 2 or 3 similar situations, Luo Jiuchen did not dare to let the butterfly get too close. He only watched from afar. Of course, the effect of such surveillance was not as good. At least, when the mother and daughter talked in a low voice, the butterfly could not hear them. Fortunately, the mother and daughter did not do anything special. After Luo Jiuchen personally watched them for a day, he did not find anything unusual. Therefore he was relieved. It was inevitable that people would feel tired after doing the same thing. As time went by, Luo Jiuchen did not watch her so closely and sent the butterfly less frequently. Ning Xuema took advantage of this opportunity. As long as the butterfly was not around, especially in the middle of the night, she would leave a camouflage spell in the bed curtain and go into the secret chamber to refine the medicinal herbs. Another half a month had passed, and she had already refined half of the poison of heavenly water. She only needed to refine it for one more night, and she would be able to refine all 46 herbs into pills. When the time came, she would just have to keep the pills properly and look for the other 3 herbs. During this period, she could also practice the art of refining medicine. Once she upgraded to level 9, she could officially refine the poison of heaven water. As for the incident that happened 50,000 years ago, it was a combination of cups and cutlery. Mother Earth did not know the complete story. After all, it involved emotional issues. A slight mistake could lead to a huge difference. Therefore, Mother Earth only had a rough idea. The truth she found out was that when little Shuema was being treated for the poison in the Fanteon Palace, she didn't know if it was because the treatment wasn't done in time or for some other reason, but all her meridians were destroyed and she became a cripple overnight. Later on, he somehow offended the Divine Lord and was chased out of the palace. He was even seriously injured. When the Devil Lord's martial arts were high, the group of devils would naturally worship her. However, once the Devil Lord's martial arts were lost, she would become a piece of fat meat. Everyone in the Devil realm wanted to eat her to increase their martial arts. Of course, there were 2 types of eating: literary eating and martial eating. When she was to roll in the sheets with her and obtain her purine essence. This was to eat slowly. Martial eating meant eating her flesh and blood. The Devil Master was born and nurtured by the heavens and the earth. His spiritual power was extremely strong. According to the rumors in the Devil realm, eating a piece of the Devil Master's flesh and blood could make one immortal and increase one's flesh and blood by 1,000 years. As a result, little Shuema, who was in dire straits, became Tang Seng's meat that the demons fought over. Shuema had been fighting in the devil world for many years, so naturally she had made countless enemies. When these enemies got the news about her, they fought fiercely. Little Shuema was caught by different devils one after another. However, because these devils were not strong enough, they did not have time to cook her before other devils snatched her away. If she encountered a nimble one, it would bite her the moment it caught her. Their bites were naturally not the bites of lovers. They would directly tear off a piece of flesh. By the time little Shuema fell into the hands of the most powerful devil, other than her face, her whole body had been bitten until it was covered with cuts and bruises. Chapter 1902. This most powerful demon had once fought against little Shuema. He had once suffered at the hands of little Shuema when she was at her peak. Now that he had her, he naturally wanted to take revenge first. It was said that he had used dozens of torture methods on little Shuema, torturing her until she was hovering between life and death. He had even inserted a sharp tube into her heart and took a cup of her heart's blood every day. It was said that the heart's blood of the Devil Lord was the best nourishment for demons. It was a rare treasure. If it was an ordinary demon who had suffered such a serious injury and had his heart's blood taken, he would have turned into ashes in one go. Although little Shuema had lost all her power, she was still a demon born from heaven and earth. She couldn't die immediately and could only endure it every day. No one knew how she survived those days. It was only said that after the powerful demon drank enough of her heart's blood, he wanted to take her body and her primordial yin. At the critical moment, little Shuema was saved by someone. The person who saved her was Luo Jiochin. It was said that when Luo Jiochin saved her, she was only half alive and didn't recognize anyone. As long as someone approached her, she would scream. Luo Jiochin spent a lot of effort to heal her body and let her power slowly recover. After she recovered, little Shuema's temperament changed greatly. The first thing she did after she recovered was to kill her way back to the devil realm. She massacred all the devils who had betrayed her and tortured her. It was said that she thought of hundreds of ways to torture those devils. She tortured them until they were better off dead than alive. She caused the devil realm to be in a state of chaos and unrest. The rivers of the devil realm flowed with more blood than water, and the entire devil realm was filled with resentment. Little Shuema also used the flesh and blood of these demons to forge a peerless divine weapon, which was the Sky Splitter Sword. Then, she used the method taught by Luo Jiochin to refine their souls and created an invincible 1,000 demons array. Little Shuema was still a child before she met with such a great change. Every day she longed to grow up and marry Shinjioli. She even wanted to take her entire Mo palace and fly away with Shinjioli. After the great change, she developed ambition and hatred. Finally, she was like a real demon. Little Shuema then took the divine weapon, the formation, and the many demons that she had subdued with iron and blood to conquer the 6 realms. Those who obeyed her were taken in for her own use, and those who did not were killed without exception. Wherever he went, there would be wails and cries and rivers of blood would flow. Her brutality finally alarmed the supreme divinity who was far away in the 36th heaven. The supreme divinity finally came out of the palace and intercepted her by the Yellow Spring River in the underworld. At that time she had already slaughtered the underworld. The elites of the underworld were all killed in that battle. Everyone was afraid of this baby-faced demon lord. Even the Lord of Hell was defeated by her and lost an arm and a leg. When Shinjuli arrived, little Shuema was seriously torturing the captive Lord of Hell. She wanted to drain his blood and absorb his soul to strengthen her 1,000 demons array. Her method of torturing him was infuriating. All the survivors trembled in fear. Shinjuli's arrival was timely. When the survivors saw him, it was as if they saw their savior. They all gathered around him. Shinjuli did not disappoint. He put righteousness before family. While he was still in the air, he sent little Shuema flying with a palm strike and saved the Lord of Hell. The supreme divinity's attack was naturally different from others. This palm strike directly made little Shuema vomit blood. After she got up, she laughed 3 times and did not talk nonsense with Shinjuli. Chapter 1903. After she got up, she laughed 3 times and didn't talk nonsense with Shinjuli. She only said a few words. Shinjuli, I was an idiot at first. I wanted to marry you, but now I know that gods and demons can't coexist. Let's stop talking nonsense and start fighting. Either you kill me or I kill you. If you don't kill me, I will wipe out the 6 realms and make the whole 6 realms submit to me. After throwing out these powerful words, she directly rushed forward. It was said that Shinjuli wanted to persuade her at that time, but she didn't listen at all. She was determined to duel with Shinjuli. In order to force Shinjuli to fight again, she even killed the captives of the underworld who hadn't surrendered yet. Finally, she provoked Shinjuli to fight with her, and the great war of gods and demons began. At this time, Shuema was no longer the little Shuema who relied on her own ability to cultivate. She had forcibly absorbed the strength of many powerhouses of the 6 realms during the expedition. Although she was still short, her strength had increased by many times compared to before. Her evil skills were amazing. In a short time she was able to tie with Shinjuli. But after a long time her strength couldn't be maintained. The Great War of Gods and Demons recorded in the 6 Realms book from 50,000 years ago was summarized in 4 words. Evil can't prevail over good. After the two fought fiercely for 3 days and 3 nights, little Shuema was defeated by Shinjuli. Shinjuli once again destroyed her strength and captured her alive. Devil Lord little Shuema had committed a lot of evil deeds in this expedition to the 6 realms. Millions of creatures from the 6 realms were buried in this expedition. The resentment of the entire 6 realms soared to the skies. After being captured alive, she was brought back to the Fanteon Palace. The survivors of the 6 realms were all agitated, and they wrote petitions to the Brahma Palace, demanding that the little demon master be severely punished. Every day, a large number of leaders of the 6 realms would kneel in front of the Brahma Palace, demanding that the little demon master who had disrupted the order of the 6 realms be sentenced to capital punishment as a warning to others. It was said that the supreme divinity allowed those people to kneel and did not come out. At the same time, because too many souls had died unjustly in that war, and there was no time to purge them, the resentment of these souls gradually formed the 8 purple evils in the 6 realms, and began to bring disaster to the 6 realms. At first, no one took the purple fiend seriously. By the time they realized it, the purple fiend had already begun to wreak havoc in the 6 realms. Everywhere it went, everything went crazy. Most of the creatures in the 6 realms that had been invaded by the purple evil spirit had completely turned into mindless monsters that only knew how to bite people. This was a truly apocalyptic calamity. The purple evil poison was like a deadly contagious disease, spreading through the 6 realms at a terrifying speed. 2 days. In just 2 short days. In the 6 realms, except for those with extremely high cultivation, basically everyone had been poisoned. There was no cure for the purple evil poison, and those who were infected with it could only be killed. As a result, a lot of resentment had been added, making the already devastated 6 realms even worse. By the time the leaders of the 6 realms realized that something was wrong, it was already too late to save the situation. On the 3rd day, Shinjuli finally left the palace, gathered the surviving leaders of the 6 realms, and told them the way to seal the purple evil poison. That was to gather the strength of the survivors to set up a sealing array, and he was responsible for attracting all the purple evil poison into the array. At that time, there were no more than 1,000 survivors in the 6 realms. These 1,000 people used their lifetime cultivation to set up the sealing array at the foot of Jiai Mountain according to Shinjoli's instructions. After Shinjoli attracted all the billowing purple evil poison into the array, he activated the array. Chapter 1904. Because this calamity was caused by little Shuema, the 8 evil beasts formed by the purple fiend hated her to the core. They had to use her as a sacrifice to seal it. In the end, Shinjoli placed righteousness above family and pushed little Shuema, who had lost her power, into the eye of the formation. She sacrificed the 8 evil beasts to seal the purple fiend successfully, and before little Shuema jumped, she swore such a vicious oath in the name of Devil Master. Even though the purple fiend was successfully sealed, those people who set up the formation had used their lifetime's worth of power. Without the protection barrier, they were infected by the purple fiend poison. Before the poison took effect, these people all committed suicide or killed each other. In the end, Shinjoli also used his lifetime's worth of power to condense the rain of purification. That heavy rain fell for 7 days and 7 nights. Finally, all the remaining purple fiend in the world was purified. This allowed the 6 realms to recuperate after many years, allowing this land to give birth to new living beings of the 6 realms. This was the truth from 50,000 years ago that Ning Shuema learned from Mother Earth. In a short sentence, she summarized little Shuema's sad and lamentable life. When Ning Shuema heard this truth, she was also stunned for a while. After all, it was her previous life, so she was naturally very sensitive to her previous life's thoughts. Even though little Shuema didn't know love at that time, and even the things she said and did made people not know whether to laugh or cry, she really liked Shinjoli. Or rather, it was love. It was just that she didn't understand it. Being hurt by the person she loved time and time again, it was no wonder her temperament changed drastically and she became a true devil. Or maybe when she conquered the 6 realms, she wanted to force Shinjoli to come out and give her an explanation. At that time, she really didn't want to live anymore. After all, Mother Earth's explanation was too general. There were some internal matters that even she wasn't clear about. Ning Shuema had already seen part of the scene from 50,000 years ago in her dream. Before she possessed little Shuema, Shinjoli cared about little Shuema. Because of Shinjoli's carelessness, he didn't detoxify little Shuema in time, causing her to suffer from qi deviation and vomit blood. She even fainted. Her meridians were probably destroyed at that time. If Shinjoli hadn't possessed his body, he would have most likely used some special method to detoxify little Shuema. In that case, Shinjoli would have lost nearly half of his divine power. However, he had done it willingly. He shouldn't have vented his anger on her after saving little Shuema. He shouldn't have driven her out when she had lost all her power, right? He was an ultimate god, so he should know the consequences of doing so. What happened after that to make him make such a brainless decision? Why did he make little Shuema fall into the abyss and couldn't climb back up again? It caused such serious consequences. Ning Shuema was puzzled. She couldn't wait to travel back in time to take a look, but this kind of travel didn't seem to be something she could decide. It seemed that she still needed a chance. She sighed softly. There was still a knot in her heart that she couldn't untie. In fact, she really wanted to travel back in time to change the whole story's content and ending, but she was afraid that if she changed everything, there wouldn't be any resentment later. Even Shui Yimo and Ning Shuema wouldn't appear again. Naturally, there wouldn't be little Nianma. She didn't know how many people's fates would be changed, and how many people would disappear inexplicably. After changing the ending, she might not even have the memories of Ning Shuema and Shui Yimo. Naturally, there wouldn't be any resentment between her and Shinjoli. Chapter 1905. Even though these grudges were painful and bitter, they had left a deep impression on her. These memories were extremely precious and she didn't want to lose them. Furthermore, Mother Earth had also said that even if she had a way to transmigrate, she couldn't tell the people in that world that she was from the future. Otherwise she would disappear again. Mother Earth had also said that this method of transmigration was extremely dangerous. If she wasn't careful, her soul wouldn't be able to find the way back. She wouldn't be able to stay in the past and could only get lost in the long river of time before gradually dissipating. If she wanted Shinjoli to return, she had to transmigrate and change little Shuema's oath. However, what should she do? Ning Shuema's head started to hurt from thinking. She was in a daze when she suddenly sensed something, and her expression changed. Luo Jiuchen had barged into her side chamber. Her camouflage could fool that stupid butterfly he made, but it couldn't fool his magic eyes. He should be able to see through it quickly. Ning Xuema looked at the jade tracker bracelet on her wrist and could clearly see the light that represented Luo Jiuchen rushing in her direction. Not good. She couldn't let him find out that she was refining pills. Ning Xuema jumped up, bang. The door of the study was kicked open and a purple figure barged in. However, he paused when he saw the scene in the study. Under the gentle luminous pearl, Ning Xuema was sitting in front of the table, flipping through a book. Her hand trembled when he kicked the door open and the book fell to the ground. She suddenly raised her head, and a pair of clear eyes landed on his body. You gave me a fright. Why did you barge in so fiercely? Luo Jiuchen didn't say anything and his eyes landed on the book. He raised his hand and the book landed in his hand. He skimmed through the contents and it was a book on cultivation spells. Looking at the handwriting, it was written by Shinjoli. Why are you reading in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? Luo Jiuchen moved slightly closer to her. There was a strong smell of alcohol on his body, and his handsome face was slightly red. His eyes were almost dripping with water. Ning Xuema pulled the book out of his hand and moved the chair back a little to put some distance between them. I slept too much during the day and can't sleep now, so I came to read a book. There was some suspicion in Luo Jiuchen's eyes. Why did you come here to read a book and put a fake person there? Who are you trying to fool? Ning Xuema's pretty face darkened. You were spying on me? Luo Jiuchen paused. He had secretly made the butterfly. Naturally, he didn't want Ning Xuema to know. After being scolded by her, he paused for a moment and shook his head. No, I just came back to see if you were asleep, but I felt that the aura inside wasn't quite right, so I went in to take a look. Why did you make a dummy? Ning Xuema still did not look good. Yanma is timid and can't leave me. I was afraid that he would be scared when I came out, so I made a dummy to share the bed with him so that he could sleep better. But you, sir, don't you think it is rude to break into a woman's bedroom in the middle of the night without her permission? Ning Xuema took the initiative to attack after Luo Jiuchen. He paused for a moment and then answered, I'm just worried about you. Ning Xuema's voice was faint. It is very safe in Fantian Palace. What are you worried about? Well, it is getting late. I'm going to rest. She did not want to be entangled with him anymore, so she stood up and walked out. Luo Jiuchen felt that something was wrong, but he could not figure out what was wrong. He was about to follow her out, but suddenly he stopped. His nose twitched. Why is there a smell of medicine? Chapter 1906. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. Although the alchemy room was in a secret room, she just came out in a hurry and didn't have time to clear the smell of medicine. Fortunately, she was prepared to fool Luo Jiuchen. Her fingertips turned in her sleeve, revealing a small part of her arm. There was a wound on her arm and the wound was smeared with ointment. A faint smell of medicine came from her arm. I hurt my arm a little when I was practicing martial arts, so I applied some ointment. The ointment on Ning Xuema's wound smelled almost the same as the one Luo Jiuchen smelled. Luo Jiuchen was no longer suspicious and sighed. Amo, why are you so careless? Let me see. He raised his hand to touch Ning Xuema's arm, but Ning Xuema stepped back and avoided his hand. It's nothing. It's just a small wound. She quickly walked out. A shadow blurred in front of her. Luo Jiuchen blocked her way. Amo. Ning Xuema's head almost collided with his chest. His action was just right, causing Ning Xuema to almost crash into his chest. She quickly stepped back. What are you doing? Luo Jiuchen's smell of alcohol became stronger. Amo, I'm very sad. He took 2 steps forward and forced Ning Xuema directly against the wall. Amo, don't you understand my feelings for you? You won't come back. When will you accept me? She didn't know how much he drank, but his dark eyes were faintly showing signs of red at the moment. His whole body was less than half a foot away from Ning Xuema. When he opened his arms against the wall, Ning Xuema was almost in his arms. Late at night, a drunk man and a woman alone in a room. Such a scene was too dangerous for a woman, especially when he was so close to her. The smell of alcohol on his body made her dizzy. Ning Xuema slightly frowned. Her body flashed and she used a spell to teleport herself out. In the blink of an eye, she was at the door. She coldly glanced at him standing in the room. You're drunk. Go back. Also, don't come here again. This was Shinjoli's study room. Other than Shin Yinma, Ning Xuema did not want anyone else to come here. She did not want any irrelevant people to be contaminated by the smell of this place. Even the 8 mythological beasts did not dare to set foot in this place, let alone Luo Jiuchen. His presence here made Ning Xuema feel like he was tarnishing this place. She couldn't help but wave her sleeve and use purification to purify the air in the room. Shinjuli didn't like to drink. She couldn't let Luo Jiuchen's alcohol smell in here. Luo Jiuchen was stunned for a moment before his eyes narrowed and he suddenly laughed. "Imo, it seems that you won't give up until this king uses a thunderous method. You've been thinking about him, haven't you?" She couldn't forget him, could she? These things can also evoke your memories of him? Then let's just destroy it. He waved his sleeve and a fireball blasted towards the bookshelves in the corner. Ning Xuema was shocked and quickly used a spell to block it. She directly created a barrier in front of the bookshelves. The fireball hit the barrier with an unusually strong force. Ning Xuema was shocked and her face turned slightly pale. "You're crazy." Luo Jiuchen squinted his eyes. "Let's see how long you can block it. There is nothing that I can't do." He waved his sleeve again and countless fireballs blasted towards the bookshelves on the four walls. He deliberately wanted to destroy this place. Ning Xuema's face changed drastically. Basically, all of Shinjuli's things were in this study room. If it was destroyed, there would be nothing left. Almost without hesitation, she suddenly used the wood element water wall technique. Chapter 1907. Almost without thinking, she suddenly released the wood-attributed water wall technique and set up a barrier around the study, protecting all the bookshelves inside. Luo Jiuchen's flames hit her barrier one after another. His divine power was similar to Shinjuli's and Ning Xuema's cultivation had not fully recovered, so how could she be his opponent? Her face turned white from the shock and she directly spat out blood. "Get out of the way." Luo Jiuchen's face also sank. "Today this lord must destroy this place." "You're dreaming." Ning Xuema only replied with one sentence. "Very good, then you can see if this lord is dreaming or not." Luo Jiuchen was also angry. His fingers in his sleeves flicked and countless fireballs whistled through the air. The wind was sharp and the sound was like a whistle, shocking the ears. It was clear that in order to destroy these books, he had used 80% of his strength. Not to mention the bookshelves, even if his fireballs were to destroy a palace, it would be enough. Every fireball was powerful enough to turn a palace into ashes. Not to mention there were so many of them. So many fireballs bombarded Ning Xuema's barrier, causing her body to sway several times. Stars appeared in front of her eyes, and the barrier she set up emitted cracking sounds as if it was on the verge of breaking. She spat out a mouthful of blood but still stubbornly stood there, not retreating a single step. Luo Jiuchen probably did not expect that she would fight so hard to protect these books. He drank too much and his temper was aroused. He raised his head and laughed. "Imo, it seems that if this lord doesn't teach you a lesson, you won't know the immensity of heaven and earth." He directly sent a palm towards Ning Xuema. The purple light was like lightning, dazzling and shining, showing no mercy at all. Ning Xuema's face turned pale. She unsheathed the sky splitter and cut the purple light. With a thunderous sound, Ning Xuema was forced to take a few steps back. The sky splitter sword was stimulated by the purple light and trembled in Ning Xuema's hand as if it had gone crazy. The entire sword hilt was purple-red. This purple light was clearly not an ordinary flame. After the sky splitter sword was burned red by the purple light, its temperature reached 1,000 degrees. If it was an ordinary steel sword, it would have been melted by the purple light. Although the sky splitter sword was a divine sword, it was still as hot as a hot iron. Sharp whistling sounds came from the sword, which were the painful cries of the imprisoned devil spirit. Although Ning Xuema's palm was protected by psyche power, she was still scalded by the sword hilt. However, she held on to it tightly. She felt that there were countless demonic forces drilling into her arm from the sword hilt and quickly spreading throughout her body. Her black eyes gradually turned red. "Luo Jiuchen, if you want to destroy this place, you'll have to do it over my dead body." She held the sky splitter sword in front of her chest. She still tried her best not to fight with Luo Jiuchen here. With her and Luo Jiuchen's skills, once they really fought, they could directly tear the palace into pieces. This was something she would never allow. Therefore she was mainly defending with all her might. Even if she was seriously injured, she was not willing to take a step back. The more she acted like this, the angrier Luo Jiuchen became. A ruthless look appeared in his eyes. "Imo, you asked for it." He wanted to give Ning Xuema a bloody lesson and also wanted to establish his prestige in front of her. He wanted her to know when to advance and when to retreat. He wanted her to know that he was the one who had the final say in this world. He was the master of the 6 realms and no one could challenge his authority. He would not kill her, but he would leave her with one last breath. Anyway, he had the ability to save her, so he was not afraid of her running away. He wanted her to know that he was her sky. Chapter 1908. No matter how capable the other man was, he was now a dead man and could no longer protect her. She had to accept the reality. With this purpose in mind, he attacked Ning Xuema mercilessly. Rays of purple light were thrown at Ning Xuema one after another. Ning Xuema desperately resisted and swore to live and die with the study. "Don't hurt my mother." Suddenly there was a sharp cry from a boy outside the door. A small white light was thrown at Luo Jiuchen. "Nianma." Ning Xuema's face changed. She could risk her life but not her child. "Nianma, back off." She desperately rushed in the direction of little Nianma. The white light that Shin Nianma launched did not pose any threat to Luo Jiuchen. He did not even try to avoid it. The white light was dissolved by him before it could get close to him. Luo Jiuchen had always disliked Shin Nianma. When he saw him appear at this time, he almost did not think and hit Shin Nianma with his palm. Ning Xuema was originally seriously injured, but in order to save her son, she was willing to risk her life. Her figure was as fast as lightning as she pounced on her son. Almost at the same time, Luo Jiuchen's purple light ball arrived. It smashed right into Ning Xuema's back. Ning Xuema's body was weak, but she desperately pushed her son away. "Run!" Shin Nianma was pushed away and Ning Xuema fell to the ground. Her back seemed to be broken and her vision turned black. "Mother!" Little Nianma shouted and turned around to rush directly to Ning Xuema. Luo Jiuchen used the wine to cover his face. He waved his sleeve and another purple light ball was thrown at little Nianma. "Little master." The 8 mythological beasts appeared together. 8 figures were emitting different light waves and intertwined in the sky above the mother and daughter. However, the purple light ball that Luo Jiuchen launched was too powerful. The wizardry barrier set up by the 8 mythological beasts could not stop his attack. With a loud bang, the purple light ball penetrated the wizardry barrier, and the barrier set up by the 8 mythological beasts dissipated like glass. However, the purple ball did not stop and continued to shoot toward little Nianma. Even Ning Xuema and the 8 mythological beasts could not stop the purple light ball. If it hit little Nianma, it was hard to imagine what would happen. Most likely he would be smashed into pieces and disappear. Ning Xuema wanted to stop him, but all the bones in his body felt like they were about to break. He couldn't even lift a finger, let alone stop him. Boom! The purple light ball finally hit Shin Nianma. Ning Xuema was scared out of her wits. Just as she was about to hug her son, something incredible happened. Suddenly, a layer of dazzling white light burst out from Shin Nianma's body. The purple light ball hit the white light and flew back like a meteor. Moreover, their speed was 10 times faster than when they came. Luo Jiuchen didn't expect his attack to fly back. He couldn't dodge in time and was hit in the chest by the purple light ball. The power of the purple light ball was 10 times stronger than when it went. With a crack, Luo Jiuchen was almost sent flying by his own purple light ball. He took a few steps back and his vision turned black. His chest was very painful. He subconsciously touched it with his hand and found that 3 of his ribs were broken. His chest was tight and he vomited. He vomited wine and blood. His body swayed for a moment, but he stood firm again. He looked at Shin Nianma in disbelief. He found that the little guy had jumped up and blocked in front of Ning Xuema. He stared at Luo Jiuchen with his big eyes. "Don't hurt my mother." Chapter 1909. The little guy was not injured at all, so his voice was full of energy. Ning Xuema was lying on the ground. Her face was pale and there was blood at the corner of her mouth. She was obviously seriously injured, but she still struggled to stay awake. She wanted to get up several times to protect her son, but she was not strong enough. Luo Jiuchen vomited the wine and recovered a lot. When he saw Ning Xuema in such a state, his heart ached and he wanted to go forward. "Don't come over." Shin Nianma stood in front of him like a fierce tiger. At the same time, the 8 mythological beasts surrounded Ning Xuema to protect her. "Get out of the Fantian Palace. You are not welcome here." Shin Nianma's eyes were red, and his little fists were clenched tightly. Luo Jiuchen stopped and sneered. "I think you have misunderstood. This is the place where the Divine Lord lives. Now that I am the Divine Lord, this is my territory." "Nonsense. This is my father's place. Every blade of grass and every tree belongs to my father. It has nothing to do with you. Get out." The Fantian Palace was built by the heavenly law for the guardian. It is not a family. Only the guardian is the owner of this place. Your father's soul has been destroyed and will never come back. I am now the guardian of the heavenly law, so this is my territory. If anyone wants to leave, it should be you. Luo Jiuchen was angry. Bastard, you are the one who has been destroyed. My father is just recuperating. He will come back. Get out of here. Don't dirty this place. Shen Yinma yelled. If he did not know that he was not a match for this person, he would have beaten him up. He could not wait to throw this person out of the Fantian Palace. Is this your third request? Luo Jiuchen suddenly asked. Shen Yinma was about to answer, yes. Yinma? Ning Xuema suddenly called out. Her call woke Shen Yinma up instantly. He quickly shut his mouth and then said coldly to Luo Jiuchen, in your dreams. Then he quickly turned to look at his mother. When he saw her, his tears came out again. His mother's injuries were too severe. Her face was as pale as snow. She tried to get up several times but to no avail. As he moved, he spat out another mouthful of blood. Luo Jiuchen's gaze fell on her. His eyes flickered slightly and a trace of regret flashed across his eyes. He was afraid that he would push her even further away, but would she change her mind if he treated her well? Probably not, right? Since that was the case, he might as well go all the way. He looked at the surrounding walls and a fierce look flashed in his eyes. That person had left too many traces here, so he might as well destroy them all. He suddenly waved his sleeves. 8 balls of light flew towards the 4 walls. If he wanted to destroy it, he would destroy it completely. Ning Xuema was shocked and Shen Yinma screamed, "You are not allowed to destroy my father's things." His little body desperately rushed toward a purple light ball. Boom, boom, boom. With several sounds, the bookshelves on the 4 walls were hit by the balls of light and shook violently. At the same time, little Nyenma's body also hit a ball of light. Therefore, a strange situation happened again. Little Nyenma's body emitted an extremely bright white light again, and the purple light ball was reflected back. Luo Jiuchen was prepared for the moment when little Nyenma rushed out. When he saw the purple light ball was reflected back, his handsome face darkened, and he immediately shot another ball to stop the one that was reflected back. The 2 balls of light collided and made an earth-shattering noise. Chapter 1910. Luo Jiuchen's body flew straight out and hit a bookshelf with a loud bang. The bookshelf shook again. Luo Jiuchen's vision turned black. He was hit by the light balls twice with 10 times the power. Even he could not bear it. He vomited blood again. "Young master, he can't hurt you," Bai Zhe shouted. He seemed to have thought of something. "He can't hurt the person who let him out. This must have been set up by the Divine Lord." She was afraid that he would bite the hand that fed him. Shen Yinma also understood and his courage increased a lot. "Hey, he can't destroy the bookshelves here either. The Divine Lord must have set up something here so that no one can destroy it." Tingshi also shouted. Luo Jiuchen looked at the bookshelves around. After being hit by him, the bookshelves were still intact. None of the books on them had fallen. It was a slap in the face. Luo Jiuchen was furious. He did not believe that he could not destroy a few broken bookshelves. However, with this child here, he would be hurt if he tried to protect the bookshelves. He was cunning. He waved his left sleeve and shot a purple light ball toward Ning Xuema. At the same time, he also waved his right sleeve and shot the red lotus fire at the bookshelves. Little Nyenma was indeed more important to protect his mother. He blocked the purple light ball, but he could not block the red lotus fireballs. The red lotus light ball shot onto the bookshelf, and the bookshelf suddenly moved. The 4 bookshelves spun around in the hall, and the 4 bookshelves turned into 16 bookshelves. White light rose from the 16 bookshelves, and the 16 white lights intertwined in the air. A white-clothed figure slowly emerged from the white light. Luo Jiuchen suddenly took a step back. Shen Yinma shouted happily, "Father!" He jumped up and rushed over. He thought that he could jump into his father's arms, but he did not expect that it would be like the last time. His little body went directly through the white figure. The white figure was not real. Little Nyenma was stunned. He finally had experience. He looked at the illusory figure of his father with tears in his big eyes. Why was it that when he finally saw his father, it was another shadow? When would the real person come back? When would she be able to hug him? When would he be able to protect him and his mother? Ning Xuema finally caught her breath. With the help of Cheong Qi, she managed to stand up. She also looked at the shadow. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he pursed his lips tightly. She was more knowledgeable than Shen Yinma, so she knew that it was just a shadow. It was similar to the four-dimensional imaging technology in science fiction. Once the mechanism was triggered, the shadow would appear. It seemed that Shinjuli had thought of everything. He thought that once Luo Jiuchen was released, he might destroy the things in Fantian Palace, so he had set up this trap in advance. Divine Lord. Although it was only a shadow, the 8 divine beasts still bowed down and kowtowed just like before. The figure was dressed in white and had black hair, just like his usual attire. His expression was as cold as before. His eyes fell on Luo Jiuchen as he slowly said, "You are not allowed to destroy anything in Fantian Palace. Otherwise you will definitely regret it." His voice was like a cold spring flowing through the air. Luo Jiuchen was stunned. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the shadow in front of him with deep hatred. Suddenly he looked up and laughed. "Shinjuli, you are already dead. Do you still want to care about everything?" Chapter 1911. You are not allowed to destroy anything in the Fantian Palace. The shadow spoke again and repeated the previous words mechanically, but this time the voice seemed to be colder. "Okay, I will not destroy anything in the Fantian Palace." Luo Jiuchen suddenly laughed. His smile was still beautiful, but it gave people a sense of coldness. "Then how about I bully your wife in front of you?" As soon as he finished the sentence, he suddenly reached out and shot a purple light toward Ning Xuema. Shen Yinma and the rest of the people's attention were focused on Shinjuli's shadow, so they were caught off guard. Ning Xuema's waist was tightened, and in a blink of an eye she fell into Luo Jiuchen's arms. "Mother." Shen Yinma was shocked and rushed over. "Let go of my mother." At this moment, Luo Jiuchen also understood that he could not attack Shen Yinma, so he took Ning Xuema and retreated quickly to avoid Shen Yinma's attack. Now that he had offended them, he did not mind offending them further. He wanted to let these people know who was the master of this place. Ning Xuema's whole body was in pain. She wanted to struggle, but she did not have the strength to. Luo Jiuchen's lips curved into a cruel smile. His fingers hooked Ning Xuema's collar. "Imo, are you still not giving up? He protected his son in the bookshelves, but he did not protect you. This shows that he does not care about you. Why do you have to protect yourself for him? Why don't you be with me? I will make you my queen. From now on, you will only be under one person and above everyone else. You will be worshipped by everyone. Isn't that better?" His words were very vicious, but Ning Xuema did not listen at all. She raised her hand and wanted to use her magic, but she was restrained by him and could not move for a while. "Imo, you are too stubborn. If that is the case, don't blame me for using ruthless means." He hooked his finger and tore Ning Xuema's collar. "Some women would only be loyal to you if you had her body." This was the experience that Luo Jiuchen had gained from traveling in the 6 realms 50,000 years ago. Therefore he wanted to try it on Ning Xuema. He liked her and had been thinking about her for more than 50,000 years. If it was not because he wanted to scheme against Shinjuli and used her as a chess piece, perhaps she would have been his. Now that he had raped her in front of Shinjuli's shadow, he felt a sense of accomplishment even though he knew that the shadow was ignorant. In the current 6 realms he was the strongest, and in Fantian Palace he had an absolute advantage. If he wanted a woman, no one would be able to stop him. When Shen Yinma saw that his mother was being bullied, he was furious. He kept attacking Luo Jiuchen. As long as Luo Jiuchen did not attack him, there was nothing he could do. Luo Jiuchen moved around the room and Shen Yinma missed him. In the process he also tore Ning Xuema's clothes. The 8 mythological beasts were also extremely angry. Although the Great Devil Master was not officially married to the Divine Lord, she was already the mistress in the eyes of the 8 mythological beasts. How could they be willing to see her being humiliated at this moment? They also pounced on Luo Jiuchen and wanted him to put her down. The originally peaceful study room was now in chaos. Ning Xuema's acupoints had already been sealed, so she didn't even have the strength to struggle. The moment Luo Jiuchen's thin fingers touched her skin, her eyes seemed to be dyed with blood. She spat out word by word, "Luo Jiuchen, you will pay for everything you've done today." Chapter 1912. His voice was as cold as a curse and Luo Jiuchen was stunned. Little Nianma took the opportunity to pounce on Luo Jiuchen with bloodshot eyes. He grabbed Luo Jiuchen's arm and tried to bite it. Luo Jiuchen had a protective wizardry barrier around him, so little Nianma could not bite him. However, the little guy in front of him seemed to have a special body. His little white teeth sank deep into his flesh and blood instantly oozed out. He was in so much pain that he trembled. He suddenly swung his arm and threw the little guy away. He used a normal physical attack and only threw the little guy away. He did not hurt him, so he did not suffer any backlash. Shin Yinma kicked the wall with his little feet and somersaulted in the air. He rushed back like a cannonball. His eyes were bloodshot. Let go of my mother. His father once told him to learn his skills so that he could protect his mother when he grew up. However, now his mother was being bullied and he could not do anything about it. It almost drove him crazy. For the first time in his life, the little boy was extremely angry. The blood in his body seemed to be boiling. Seeing that he was rushing over again, Luo Jiuchen frowned and dodged again. However, he laughed. Little Nianma, there is only one way to make me let go. Say it as the third condition. Otherwise, you can only watch your mother being bullied by me. Shin Yinma's eyes were bloodshot. You, Nianma, you can't. Ning Xuema hurriedly said, but before she could finish, Luo Jiuchen hit her acupoint to mute her. Luo Jiuchen looked at her coldly. Would you rather be bullied by me than let me be the master of this world? Do you still think that he can come back? He raised his hand to tear her thin clothes. My third condition is that you cannot touch anything that belongs to the former Divine Lord, including her. Including people. Little Nianma suddenly said word by word. Luo Jiuchen was stunned. He thought that little Nianma's condition was to let go of his mother and not harm her. He did not expect the little guy to make such a request. He did not want to agree. When he was about to refute, little Nianma said again, this is the only condition. I swear that I will never change it. I'll count to 10. If you don't agree, then you'll never hear the third condition, and you'll never become the master of heaven and earth. The little fellow's words were sonorous and forceful, and Luo Jiuchen froze again. Seeing that the little fellow was counting quickly and was about to reach 10, Luo Jiuchen didn't want to miss out on this opportunity to become the master of heaven and earth. He made up his mind and said, okay, I promise you. Following his promise, a bolt of golden lightning fell from the sky, signifying that the promise had been made. At the same time, Luo Jiuchen's body also emitted rings of brilliant seven-colored light, gradually forming a halo behind him, like the light of Buddha. He had finally become the master of heaven and earth. He had finally become the guardian of the heavenly Tao. Since he had made a promise, he could no longer violate Ning Xuema's wishes and violate her. Otherwise, he would be locked back into the bell and would never be able to come out again. He put Ning Xuema down and unsealed her acupoints. I'm sorry. I had no choice. I didn't really want to hurt you. In response, Ning Xuema slapped him across the face. It was unusually loud and clear as it hit his handsome face. His eyes flashed as he accepted the slap. Ning Xuema was seriously injured, so the strength she could use was limited. At most, this slap would only make his cheeks turn red. Chapter 1913. Ning Xuema was seriously injured, so the amount of strength she could use was limited. At most, her slap only made his cheeks turn red, but it didn't cause any real harm to him. I know you are angry, so I will give you a few slaps to vent your anger. I will not avoid it. Luo Jiuchen was still smiling and his eyes were even sincere. From now on, if he wanted to get Ning Xuema, he could only pursue her seriously and not force her. He thought that after hearing his words, Ning Xuema would say, I will not slap you. I am afraid of dirtying my hands. He even thought of a countermeasure. However, he did not expect Ning Xuema to smile. Okay, you said it. She raised her hand and slapped him dozens of times in a row. Luo Jiuchen was speechless because he had said that he would not avoid it. Naturally, he could only endure it. His handsome face was slapped until it turned purple. He could not smile anymore. In the end, he finally took a step back and avoided Ning Xuema's hand. Are you done? Ning Xuema took a few breaths. After all, she was seriously injured and could barely stand. At this moment, her wrist was numb. She rubbed her wrist and only said one word to Luo Jiuchen, go away. Luo Jiuchen was angry. You should go away. I am the real owner of Fantian Palace now. Ning Xuema took another breath. Okay, then let's go. Luo Jiuchen choked. I didn't chase you away. He seemed a little annoyed. Although this place already belongs to me, you can still stay here. I'm not such a heartless person. Alright, it's getting late. I'm going to rest. He turned and left in a hurry. He knew that if he stayed, it would only make things worse. So, it was better to leave. Ning Xuema's eyes flickered slightly. It was good that the bastard left. She would leave, but she would leave with what she should take with her. The door of Fantian Palace slowly closed behind them. The 8 mythological beasts escorted Ning Xuema and little Nianma out of the palace. Luo Jiuqin stood at the door, unwilling to give up. His eyes fell on Ning Xuema. "Amo, do you have to leave?" Ning Xuema ignored him and let Qiong Qi carry her forward. "Amo, I'll definitely make you come back in the future," Luo Jiuqin said from behind as if he was making a vow. Ning Xuema still didn't look back, but the corners of her lips curled up slightly. She would definitely come back to take his life. The 8 divine beasts clustered around the two of them and left without looking back. They gradually disappeared into the distance. Luo Jiuqin stood alone in front of Fantian Palace, looking at her back, his fingers clenched in his sleeves. After a while he slowly smiled. It seemed that this girl was still very forgetful. Did she forget what happened 50,000 years ago when she lost her power and was driven out of the Fantian Palace? Although she did not lose her power this time, there was not much difference between such a serious injury and losing her power. If she returned to the Devil Kingdom in this state, it would undoubtedly be no different than a sheep in a pack of wolves. As long as he revealed the news to the people in the Devil Kingdom, the tragedy of 50,000 years ago would definitely happen again. He could not hurt her because of the oath, but it did not mean that others could not hurt her. As long as he did not do it himself, it would not be considered a violation of the oath. He would save her after she was tortured to the brink of death. Then she would understand that she could not go anywhere except Fantian Palace. Naturally, she would seek his protection and agree to any of his conditions. Chapter 1914. He turned around and looked at the gate of the Fantian Palace. A real smile finally appeared on his face. He had finally become the master of the Fantian Palace. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. From now on, the 6 realms would belong to him. He had finally ascended to the highest position. He turned around and entered the palace. The entire Fantian Palace was quiet, and there was no sound at all. The wind blew through the treetops, and he could only hear his own footsteps on the stone pavement. He thought that the 8 mythological beasts were the guardian beasts of heaven and earth, so he wanted to force them to stay. However, Baizé's words made him speechless. "We were saved by the Divine Lord. We are only loyal to the Divine Lord and his descendants." Luo Jiuqin could not force them to stay, so he could only watch them leave with Ning Xuema and her daughter. It did not matter. Even if there was no one here now, it did not matter. As long as he sat on the throne, he would not be afraid that no one would be loyal to him. He strolled to the door of Shinjuli's study and wanted to push the door open. He wanted to go in and see the books left by Shinjuli. Since he could not destroy them, he could at least read them. However, he did not expect to encounter an obstacle when he pushed the door open. The door disappeared, and the entire study was shrouded in a cloud of white light. Luo Jiuqin was stunned for a moment. He sneered and began to think of a way to break the door. After an hour, he looked at the study that still looked like an eggshell and finally gave up. He clenched his fists. It seemed that Shinjuli was more wary of him than of a thief. He knew that the Fantian Palace would change owners in the future, so he made all kinds of preparations in advance. Luo Jiuqin did live in the Fantian Palace, but there were many places that he could not enter. For example, Shinjuli's study, bedroom, and even the side hall where Ning Xuema lived had a thick wizardry barrier that could not be opened. It seemed that the moment Ning Xuema and the rest left, these wizardry barriers automatically activated and did not allow anyone to enter. "Mother, where are we going?" Nianma asked his mother carefully. "Back to the Mo Palace." Ning Xuema answered with 3 words. Baizé followed closely beside the mother and daughter. It was worried. "Devil Master, you're seriously injured now. I'm afraid that the demons in Mo Palace will change." They had been alive for 50,000 years. At that time, the little Devil Lord had lost his power and was captured by the people of the Devil World. They knew about it. Ning Xuema smiled. "Don't worry. Things are different now." Her face was extremely pale and even her lips were white. However, under this smile, there was a feeling of high spirits, making people only want to believe in her. Baizé didn't say anything, and the 8 divine beasts surrounded the two of them even more closely. Half a day later, Baizé finally understood what Ning Xuema meant when she said that today was different from the past. The moment Ning Xuema returned to Mo Palace, head steward He Mu, Mo Palace's 8 law protectors, 16 elders, 32 imperial bodyguards, and many other influential figures of the Devil World came out to welcome her. They all knelt on the ground. "Welcome back, Devil Master." The cheers shook the heavens and earth. Especially head steward He Mu, who was really considerate to the extreme. When he saw that Ning Xuema's complexion was not good, he immediately ordered people to bring over an extremely comfortable sedan. 2 female law protectors came over and carefully helped her into the sedan, carrying her all the way inside. Ning Xuema had not been back for a long time, but her bedroom was still clean and tidy. There was not even a speck of dust to be found. A quarter of an hour later, Ning Xuema was already resting on her bed. Under her body was a soft, cloud-like bedding. Chapter 1915. Manager Heimu delivered countless types of healing medicine to her. A few female guardians served her in the hall, while the rest of the people were guarding the surroundings of Mo Palace in case of an attack from other worlds. Everything was so orderly. The 8 mythological beasts initially wanted to run away as soon as they noticed something was wrong. However, when they saw the situation, they were all shocked. Had these devils changed their minds? Weren't the devils only concerned about whether it was beneficial to them? They were ruthless. What happened this time? They were still not at ease. Out of the 8 mythological beasts, 6 of them were eyeing Ning Xuema's sleeping quarters like tigers watching their prey. 2 of them remained inside her sleeping quarters. Bai Zhe and the flying serpent were the most meticulous. They were afraid that these devils were just pretending and secretly plotting against Ning Xuema. Therefore, they checked all the medicine and food delivered to Ning Xuema quietly to make sure that there was nothing wrong with them before they allowed Ning Xuema to consume them. For convenience, Bai Zhe and the flying serpent even changed into their female forms. After all, they were male animals and they were majestic and beautiful in their bones. Their appearance looked valiant and full of vigor. They were the standard masculine women. Their big eyes could scare off a group of people. The 2 of them guarded Ning Xuema's bed on both sides. Except for Xin Yinma, no one was allowed to come close. They had to check the things that were given to Ning Xuema first. General Manager Heimu naturally saw through their wariness. He couldn't help but rub his forehead and try to reason with them. The 2 of you, this is our devil master, the person we're loyal to with our lives. We definitely won't be disloyal. Don't you think it's a bit too much to guard against us? Bai Zhe did not seem to be flexible at all. We have to be careful during special times. Manager Heimu was speechless. Ning Xuema rested for a moment and slowly recovered. She waved her hand and said, Bai Zhe, they are on our side. There is no need to guard against them. Heimu, come here. Heimu breathed a sigh of relief and quickly walked forward. Ning Xuema forced herself to be alert and gave him some instructions. Manager Heimu immediately agreed and went to make arrangements. Ning Xuema closed her eyes again. Luo Jiuchen had hurt her badly and almost affected her vitality. It would take at least half a month for her to recover. She understood Luo Jiuchen's plan and knew that he was waiting for her to be hunted down so that she could ask him for help. However, he forgot that the current Ning Xuema was no longer the simple and impetuous little Xuema of the past. That year, little Xuema relied on her iron fists to sit on the Devil Lord's throne. She didn't know how to control people. At that time, although there were many obedient subordinates, there were not many loyal subordinates. Moreover, she had just quelled the various rebellions in the Devil World not long ago. The various Devil Kings of the Devil World had their territories seized by her, and many of them hated her to the core. Even if they obeyed her, they had no choice but to obey. In their bones, they still wanted to overthrow her at all times. Therefore, when she was in trouble, she would become the target of an arrow and end up like that. However, Ning Xuema now knew how to control people very well. She had also seized good territories for the Devil World so that they could really rest and recuperate. These people in the Devil World were really respectful and grateful to her. Therefore, even if she was in trouble, they would not rebel. Especially loyal subordinates like Manager Heimu. When she was in trouble, they could only protect her with their lives. Moreover, she had just sealed Zisha a while ago and saved the 6 realms. The people in the 6 realms were no longer hostile to her. Therefore, there were very few people who wanted to take advantage of her. Chapter 1916. After all, Luo Jiuchen wasn't really at odds with her. He was even trying to get her back. In this case, he would at most plot against her behind her back and play some small tricks, but he wouldn't do anything to her in the open. Ning Xuema had already considered all the pros and cons, which was why she boldly returned to Mo Palace. Firstly, the spiritual power in this place was very strong, which was good for her recuperation. Secondly, with these loyal subordinates here, her and little Nianma's safety was more guaranteed. The facts proved that Ning Xuema's judgment was very correct. General Manager Heimu redeployed the demons in Mo Palace and protected it like an iron bucket. Even a fly could not fly in. Under such protection, even if there were some demons with evil intentions, they would not dare to act rashly. As for the people from other worlds, most of them did not make a move. Even if there were a few who were provoked by the news released by Luo Jiuchen, they came to take advantage of the situation. Before they could even get close to her palace, they were intercepted by various masters who were lying in ambush in Mo Palace. Not even a complete corpse was left behind. The news that Demon Master Imo was seriously injured and dying had been spread all over the 6 worlds, but there were not many who really came to find trouble. The leaders of other worlds even came to visit her. Of course, people were not united. Some came to visit sincerely, and some came to check on her injuries to see if there were any benefits to be gained. Ning Xuemo rejected all of them with the excuse that she was not feeling well. She did not see anyone. Of course, head steward Heimu was a smooth and slick person. He politely sent those people away without losing his poise. Even if those who had evil intentions came, when they saw the heavily guarded Mo Palace and the valiant 8 mythological beasts who seemed to be looking for an unlucky person to eat meat, they would give up their evil intentions. In the blink of an eye, another 10 days had passed. Ning Xuema lived a good life in Mo Palace, and her injuries recovered quickly. As for Nianma, he practiced even more diligently. He had to practice hard to make himself stronger as soon as possible to protect his mother. He would not allow the last incident to happen again. For the past 10 days, the Mo Palace had been calm and peaceful. Although Ning Xuema had been recuperating in her sleeping quarters, she was still aware of what was happening outside. Luo Jiuchen ascended to the position of Master of Heaven and Earth. In order to let the 6 realms know that he was quite capable. He had already held 3 6 realms conventions so that the leaders of the 6 realms could recognize him as the new sovereign of the 6 realms. Every time it would be grand and awe-inspiring. And every time he would send an invitation to Mo Palace, inviting Ning Xuema to attend. Ning Xuema knew that she couldn't go against him at this time. Although she didn't go herself, she still sent someone to go. Luo Jiuchen couldn't find any fault. Naturally, they couldn't openly attack the demon realm. The 6 realms were in a state of delicate balance. Although it was turbulent inside, it was still peaceful on the surface. Luo Jiuchen was very good at putting on a show. In order to increase his prestige, he did some good things for the 6 realms. Coupled with his smooth and slick way of dealing with people, he slowly gathered some popularity and a group of loyal subordinates. At night, Ning Xuema was resting on the bed with her eyes closed. Outside, head steward Heimu suddenly delivered an invitation card. The invitation was extraordinarily exquisite. It had a silver-white cover with a picture of a towering building. It was the Fantian Palace. It was sent by Luo Jiuchen. On the invitation, he claimed to be the owner of the Fantian Palace. Chapter 1917. It was sent by Luo Jiuchen, and it said that he was the master of Fantian Palace. The general content was that 1 month later, on the 8th day of the 8th month, there would be an auspicious day. Luo Jiuchen would officially ascend to the position of the Master of Heaven and Earth on that day. Therefore, he would hold a celebration and invite Ning Xuema, the Devil Master, to attend. The words were very sincere, and there was a touch of elegance and nobility between the lines. Ning Xuema didn't say anything. She just smiled and tore the invitation, throwing it on the ground. Head steward Heimu understood. He picked up the post and threw it far away. A cold crescent moon hung in the sky, and Ning Xuema stood in the small courtyard. This small courtyard used to be where Shinjuli lived, and everything inside had been restored to its original state. Everything was arranged according to the time when he lived here. Julie, when are you coming back? If you don't come back, your position will really be taken away. Ning Xuema strolled in the small courtyard, her hand on a big tree as she looked at the sky in a daze. Her body was still very weak, but fortunately she could move normally. She slept a little too much during the day, so she couldn't sleep at night. After receiving the invitation, she couldn't sleep even more. Thus, he simply walked out and strolled into the small courtyard. No one had come to this small courtyard for a long time, so it had a kind of cold and cheerless feeling. She walked around the small courtyard and stopped in front of the flower bed. The flower bed was full of weeds, and it looked a little desolate. Ning Xuema squatted down and began to pull the weeds. This was the place he used to take care of carefully. Even if there was no heaven fire flower, he couldn't let it become a place full of weeds. While she was pulling, her fingers suddenly paused. What is this? She saw a small bump, which had just been broken open a little and was hidden in the weeds. If Ning Xuema didn't pull the weeds, she wouldn't have seen it. Could it be that the heaven fire flower had grown another one? Ning Xuema carefully lifted the soil on the small bump, and then, she was stunned. What she saw was a small lotus leaf seedling. The sapling only had 2 tender little buds, dark green like jade. Only the tip of the buds was visible, and it blended well with the surrounding weeds. If Ning Xuema wasn't an expert in all kinds of plants, she wouldn't be able to recognize its species. She felt a little confused. Weren't lotuses supposed to grow in water? Why did it appear in the dry land? She took a closer look and confirmed that it was indeed he. Ning Xuema paused for a moment, then stretched out her finger to touch the tender piece of the seedling. She faintly felt that there seemed to be spiritual energy flowing on it. The tender leaves were extraordinarily tender. As soon as Ning Xuema's finger touched them, they immediately closed their leaves like a mimosa plant. Could this flower have been stolen by Starbeck? Since it is a flower with Reiki, Ning Xuema is determined to raise it well. Lotus likes water, right? Looking at how fragile it looked, perhaps it was due to the lack of water. Ning Xuema ran back to her room, took some clean water and carefully watered it around it. The tender leaves of the lotus seemed to have sensed the nourishment of the water, and the leaves stretched out again. Ning Xuema originally wanted to remove the weeds around it, but she thought better of it. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. If she left it here alone, it would be more dangerous. It would be better to let the weeds accompany it. No one would notice it and it could grow stronger. After taking care of the strange lotus, Ning Xuema went into the house. Lying on the bed that he used to sleep, she fell asleep in a daze. Chapter 1918. Ning Xuema looked at the 2 people below and was a little confused. There was an antique bookshelf and an antique desk. There was a ceramic vase on the desk and a magnolia was blooming in the vase. Little Xuema sat in front of the desk, frowning. She held a pen tightly in her hand and was writing. Shinjuli sat next to her and played chess with himself. Time was peaceful and this scene gave people a warm feeling. I'm so tired. I'm not writing anymore. Little Xuema threw away the pen in her hand and shook her wrist. My arms are sore. It's more tiring than a fight. Shinjuli didn't even look up. Have you written enough for 20 pieces? Little Xuema looked at the papers on the side and counted them. Her beautiful eyebrows wrinkled. 20 is too much. I'm still young. There's no need to write so much. I've actually improved a lot. She picked up a piece of paper that she had just finished writing and ran to Shinjuli. She waved the piece of paper in front of him. Look. Ning Xuema also floated down curiously to take a look. After reading, she couldn't help but rub her forehead. Little Xuema didn't have much ink in her stomach. The words were written in a threatening manner and couldn't be considered beautiful. Shinjuli didn't even look at it. He grabbed the piece of paper and flicked it with his fingertips. The paper turned into butterflies. Rewrite. Another 10 pieces. Little Xuema raised her eyebrows. I don't want to write anymore. I'm the devil master. Even if I don't write these things, I'm still living a good life. Why must I write this? She turned and wanted to run out, but Shinjuli stopped her in her tracks. Do you still want to marry me? Little Xuema was about to step out of the door when she retracted her foot and obediently replied, yes. She seemed to have thought of something. She squatted beside Shinjuli's feet and tugged at his sleeve. She seemed to be a little troubled. Julie, we've slept together. Why haven't I grown taller? Shinjuli placed the chess piece in his hand on the chessboard. He glanced at her and calmly pulled back his sleeve. Your height has nothing to do with whether you live in the same room or not. He pulled back his sleeve and patted her head. Good girl, go practice your calligraphy. Xuema pursed her lips. Then what does my height have to do with it? Don't worry, I will make you grow up and taller in the future. Now go practice your calligraphy. Shinjuli began to play chess again. Little Xuema pouted and went back to practice writing. Ning Xuema looked at this and then looked at that. She now understood that her soul might have transmigrated again. Back to 50,000 years ago, it seemed that after she left, little Xuema woke up on her own and regained her lowly appearance. She wondered if Shinjuli had noticed it. Did they sleep together again? It can't be, right? Little Xuema's body was still so small. If Shinjuli did it, wouldn't it destroy the motherland's flower bud? Ning Xuema made random guesses in her heart. Her gaze fell on Shinjuli again. His gaze fell on little Xuema. Ning Xuema always felt that his gaze was a little strange. It was as if he was looking at another person through little Xuema's body. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door of the study 3 times and a woman's voice could be heard. Jiuli? Ning Xuema was stunned. She knew that Xinjiuli's Fantian Palace usually didn't have outsiders. Why was there suddenly a woman? She called out her name so familiarly. Come in. Xinjiuli said without raising his head. A white-clothed woman gracefully walked in with a tray in her hand. On the tray was a bowl of steaming pink porridge. Chapter 1919. Jiuli, I just made a new bowl of lotus magnolia porridge. Come and have a taste. Ning Xuema was stunned by the woman in white's words. Sister? Xinjiuli's sister? Wasn't he a god born from heaven and earth? How could a creature like sister exist? She looked at the woman from head to toe. She looked to be about 20 years old. Her eyebrows were as beautiful as a painting. She was a beauty. When she walked, she seemed to have an otherworldly aura. Her voice was as soft as the clouds. The room was filled with a strange fragrance. The bowl of porridge was cooked very well. Ning Xuema smelled it even in her soul state. Xinjiuli didn't seem to care. You don't have to make this. I'm not a greedy person. Have a taste. At least I made it this time. You can't expect me to throw it away again, right? The woman in white put the bowl on the small table next to him. Xinjiuli glanced at the bowl of porridge and raised his hand to rub his eyebrows. Suddenly, he looked at little Xuema who had stopped writing and was looking at him eagerly. Do you want to eat it? Little Xuema didn't hesitate. Yes. Well, then finish writing the words obediently. As long as you write well, this bowl of porridge is yours. Are you serious? Why would I lie to a child like you? Xinjiuli smiled gently. Write quickly. Little Xuema immediately lowered her head and wrote again. This time she wrote well and quickly. The woman in white's face was a little pale. Jiuli, this is my gift. Well, that's why I won't waste your gift. I'll use it in the most suitable place. I won't let this bowl of porridge go to waste. The white-clothed woman was speechless. She shook her head and looked at little Xuema who was copying. Jiuli, forgive me for saying this, but tomorrow you still have a tough battle to fight. I think you should go into seclusion to recover instead of staying here to guard the place. This devil master is considered an adult. She has self-control. I don't need to go into seclusion. Xinjiuli answered indifferently. He glanced at little Xuema and said, She's very naughty. If you don't keep an eye on her, she won't be obedient. Even a deaf person could hear the affection in his voice. The woman paused for a moment. How about this? I'll keep an eye on her for you. You go and rest first. After all, you just used the snow-melting technique to detoxify her, and you have consumed too much of your divine power. It doesn't matter. Xinjiuli didn't want to explain anything. The woman pursed her lips and sighed. Do as you wish. Then your big battle tomorrow. I know what to do. Xinjiuli interrupted her. What great battle. I'll go too. Little Xuema threw down her pen, her eyes sparkling. Now that you've lost all your martial arts, you'll only cause more trouble if you follow. Tomorrow stay in the palace and don't run around. Xinjiuli's voice was a little strict. Little Xuema didn't say anything. She pouted her little mouth and started to copy again. Ning Xuema looked at everything that was happening below, and her heart suddenly moved. Looking at Xinjiuli, it didn't look like he had chased little Xuema out of the palace in the blink of an eye. What exactly happened after that? Was that why he was so ruthless? Or was there a mistake in what Mother Earth had said? Her gaze landed on that woman in white again. Or was it related to her? After a moment, little Xuema finally finished writing a few lines of words. She was still very smart. Once she had the motivation to write, she could learn extremely quickly. Those few lines of words were written quite well. After Xinjiuli saw them, he was rather satisfied and passed the bowl of porridge to her. That bowl of porridge had been sitting there for so long, but when it passed through Xinjiuli's hands and into little Xuema's hands, it was neither cold nor hot. It was just right. Chapter 1920. Little Xuema's eyes curved into crescents as she ate. She was smiling. Ning Xuema had been following the two of them. She watched as Xinjiuli brought little Xuema to a place with abundant spiritual energy to practice for a while. Then she watched as he brought her to the peak of the mountain. The bright moon hung high in the sky. The mountain breeze blew gently, and the stars twinkled in the sky. He played the guqin leisurely while she sat by the side, hugging her knees and listening. Little Xuema had lost her spiritual energy, so it was easier for her to get sleepy. After listening for a while, she nodded off and fell asleep unknowingly. The The sound of the guqin stopped. Shinjuli glanced sideways at her, who was sleeping soundly beside him. He sighed softly and bent over to carry her down the mountain. He walked towards the bedroom. Ning Xuema followed him unknowingly. She didn't know why her heart was in a mess. Although little Xuema was old enough to be an adult, her personality and body were still that of a child. Of course, in this day and age there were many girls who got married at the age of 12 or 13. Even if Shinjuli had sex with her, she wouldn't be considered a young girl. However, Ning Xuema still felt uncomfortable. She felt that the Almighty wouldn't be so tasteless. However, with Shinjuli's unrestrained personality, he might have had sex with little Xuema again. After all, Ning Xuema had taken over that body and had sex with the Almighty 3 times consecutively. The Almighty had tasted the sweetness. Ning Xuema followed him into the bedroom, feeling conflicted. However, she realized that he had placed little Xuema on the bed and covered her with a blanket. With a wave of his sleeve, he set up another bed in the room and laid down on it. A luminous pearl above his head lit up the room. With a wave of his sleeve, the luminous pearl was covered by something and the room darkened. Ning Xuema could only see Shinjuli's eyes shining faintly in the night. He seemed to be looking at little Xuema. After a while he sighed softly. "When will you change back? I've been guarding you all this time because I wanted you to change back." His voice was low and magnetic to begin with, but now it was even lower. In the darkness of the night, it tugged at one's heartstrings. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that he had noticed that the current Xuema was different from when she was possessed? Was he waiting for her to possess him again? Ning Xuema circled around the sleeping little Xuema. Possessing a body was not something that could be done just because one wanted to. Right now, she was unable to possess the body and could only be a bystander. Shinjuli seemed to be tossing and turning restlessly. After a while, he put on his clothes and moved the night-luminescent pearl to the table. He held a book and started reading. The sand in the hourglass fell bit by bit. Time passed by slowly. Ning Xuema looked at his shadow in a daze. She looked out of the window and saw that the stars were already flickering. It was obviously late at night. Ning Xuema frowned. As she expected, Shinjuli should be fighting with Luo Jiuchen tomorrow. According to history, Shinjuli had lost half of his divine power to save someone. That was why he had been severely injured in the battle. Luo Jiuchen was a very abnormal opponent. His personality was abnormal and so was his martial arts. Even if Shinjuli did not lose his divine power, he should have used all his strength to fight with Luo Jiuchen, right? He should be conserving his energy tonight, instead of reading a book here. Ning Xuema looked at the cover of the book he was reading. It was not a book about magic or tactics but a book about strange things. The book listed some strange things such as a person having 2 personalities or reincarnating in someone else's body. Chapter 1921. Shinjuli's gaze fell on the sleeping little Xuema. He whispered, "Could it be that she also has 2 personalities? When will her other personality reappear?" Ning Xuema coughed softly. See, Shinjuli was indeed suspicious. But he suspected that she had 2 personalities. Before she could finish her thought, a suction force from the void suddenly pulled her in. Her vision turned black and her body sank. Then she slowly opened her eyes and raised her hand to rub her eyebrows. Then she looked at her small hand. It was very solid. Very good, she was possessed again. She looked at the person sitting in front of the table and thought for a while. Then she got out of bed and approached him from behind. Shinjuli seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. He said without turning his head, "Did I wake you up? Go back to sleep. You still have some homework to do tomorrow. I came back to check on you." Ning Xuema chuckled. "Are you raising me as your disciple?" Shinjuli's back stiffened slightly. He turned his head and looked at her from head to toe. Xuema? She hadn't seen him in a long time. She hadn't hugged him in a long time. Although she was hugging him from 50,000 years ago, Ning Xuema didn't care. Ning Xuema lazily yawned. She straightforwardly pulled open his sleeve and sat in his embrace. She greedily sniffed the cold yet familiar scent on his body. She muttered, "Great God, I missed you." She even rubbed her head against his chest. Shinjuli's eyes suddenly lit up. He pulled her away from his arms and looked into her eyes. "Xuema? You're that Xuema?" Ning Xuema raised her head and kissed his chin. "There's only one Xuema. There's no other." The way she spoke and the way she handled things was very different from the naive and innocent little Xuema. It was that her. She was the one who had intimate contact with him. Shinjuli's eyes were still fixed on her eyes. That day she fell asleep halfway through her speech. What do you mean by 50,000 years? Ning Xuemo rubbed her eyebrows. Mother Earth had said before that she had transmigrated 50,000 years later, so she definitely couldn't tell anyone about this. She wrapped her arms around his neck and said in a half-joking tone, "Almighty, I've been thinking about you for 50,000 years, sob sob." 50,000 years of time travel was really not easy for her. She had transmigrated here to investigate the truth and change history. She snuggled in his arms like a lazy cat. Shenjuli suddenly raised his hand to cover the light of the night luminescent pearl with a thick veil. Then he carried her up and said in a low voice, "I missed you too. You're finally back." A white light flashed from her body, and her figure returned to the appearance of a 17 or 18-year-old girl. Ning Xuema stared blankly. She looked at her own figure that had suddenly become impressive, and the corner of her mouth twitched. Chapter 1922. Ever since she possessed little Xuema's body again, she had accepted everything that had happened before. After knowing that she had traveled back in time, little Xuema came back automatically. At the same time, her body returned to the appearance of a 12 or 13-year-old. Little Xuema did not know what had happened, but she could feel that Shinjuli had treated her differently from before. Her thoughts were still stuck at the time when Shinjuli saved her. Not only did he not detoxify her, but he also kept her in the quilt, and she fainted from the heat. After she woke up, she did not know why she was on the top of the lonely peak, and why she was still in Shinjuli's arms. She had always liked to be in Shinjuli's arms. When she saw herself in his arms, her eyes immediately curved like the moon, and she asked him, "Julie, are you going to agree to my marriage?" She even touched her face with her small hands and was a little distressed. "But my face is still scratched." "What about the herbs?" "Where are the herbs?" "Oh right, you almost suffocated me." At that time what she said was a little confusing. Shinjuli originally looked at her with a complicated gaze, but after hearing what she said, his expression changed. Without saying anything he checked her body. After being stunned for a while, he looked at her with an unfathomable gaze. "Did you forget everything that happened just now?" Little Xuema was confused. What happened just now? Shinjuli seemed to be a little shocked at that time. His expression was not right and he looked at her over and over again. He even reached out his finger and pressed it between her eyebrows to read her memory. After reading her memory, his expression became even more unfathomable. He did not say anything else and directly took her down the peak. During those few days, Shinjuli treated her very well. Not only did he personally heal the scratches on her body and face, but he also personally urged her to study and learn to read every day. At night, he slept in the same room with her, but they slept on different beds. Little Xuema did not understand, but Shinjuli did not want to. Although the two of them were in the same room, nothing happened. Shinjuli still treated little Xuema as a child and raised her as a special child. Ning Xuema heaved a sigh of relief when she recalled the memories of little Xuema. It turned out that Shinjuli still had a bottom line. Very good. She had just breathed a sigh of relief when the bed behind her sank slightly. Obviously, Shinjuli had climbed onto her bed. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. She instinctively wrapped the blanket around herself, but before she could wrap it tightly, a corner of the blanket was pulled away. Then she felt a warmth on her back. He was hugging her from behind. "But, Almighty, I think it's better if we sleep on separate beds." "Haven't we always slept on separate beds?" Before she could finish her words, he turned around and blocked her lips. His movements were still elegant and steady, but the words he said were far from what she thought. "Tonight, I don't want to sleep on separate beds with you," he said this sentence with his lips close to hers. The pleasant smell of his body completely enveloped Ning Xuema. She was a little dizzy. Although she was not drugged, the blood in her body seemed to be boiling. He hugged her in his arms and kissed her deeply. The kiss made her dizzy and lightheaded, and she could not say a word. She curled up in his arms and could clearly feel the changes in his body. This change made Ning Xuema's face redder, like a freshly cooked crayfish. Actually, she did not want to have sex with him. After all, at this time he should be conserving his energy and not wasting it. Chapter 1923. Therefore, when her soul was almost drifting after being kissed, she was still able to pull out a wisp of reason to reject him. "Don't. Not tonight." She was shocked when she said that. Her voice was very soft and even had a kind of charm. Her resistance was negligible to Shinjoli. However, he still respected her. He raised his hand to stop her hands from pushing him away and pushed them above her head. His eyes were extremely deep and dark. When Ning Xuema looked into his eyes, she felt as if she wanted to drown in his gaze. Shinjuli looked at her with such eyes and smiled. Why not tonight? His eyes reflected her slightly disheveled clothes as if he could only see her. Ning Xuema felt as if there was a string in her heart that was gently plucked by someone. She trembled but still forced herself to say, "You still have a big battle tomorrow. You can't waste too much of your energy." Shinjuli smiled. He rarely smiled, but when he did, it was enough to shake one's soul. "It doesn't matter." He answered her with 3 words and slowly put his fingers on her shoulder. With a slight movement of his fingers, her clothes fell from her shoulder and her skin was exposed. He kissed her shoulder while his other hand calmly undid her sash. His movements were methodical but also very strong. He did not allow anyone to reject him. Ning Xuema was reluctant to reject him. In a blink of an eye, her clothes had already left her body. His skills seemed to have improved. Although his fingertips were very restrained, Ning Xuema's body seemed to be set on fire every time his fingertips touched her. Her blood was boiling as if she had taken some kind of aphrodisiac. Her heart was filled with a desire because of this fire. She wanted to be one with him or else she would feel empty and uncomfortable. She panted heavily and could not help but hold his neck. She spat out a few words. "You've learned it before, right?" He was now comparable to an expert in flirting. He made her lose all her rationality and let her be utterly defeated. She softened in his arms and let him do whatever he wanted. He rushed in with the force of a thunderbolt. There was also a slight swelling pain, which made her empty heart feel as if it was suddenly filled. She suddenly felt an inexplicable ache in her heart. Her fingers that were originally around his waist and back tightened. Her fingernails left a few marks on his back as she couldn't help but spit out a few words. "You, be gentler." He didn't know how long that lasted until Ning Xuema begged for mercy 3 times. Only then did he stop reluctantly. After cleaning her up, he did not let go of her and continued to hold her in his arms. Ning Xuema nestled in his embrace, her nose filled with his scent. She felt abnormally at ease, but she did not forget her purpose. She placed her palm on his lower abdomen, wanting to test if the god power in his body had decreased. However, she forgot that this body had lost its power. After she pressed on it, she could not use her psychokinesis to probe. His abdominal muscles were really firm. When he was wearing clothes, he looked like a fairy. When he was not wearing clothes, she did not expect his figure to be so good. The muscles of his six-pack were well defined, with a kind of faintly flowing strength. It felt so good to the touch. Her little hand that was groping around was held by him. He looked at her with a faint smile. "Do you want to do it again?" "Swat. I don't want it any more. It would be daybreak if they did it again." Ning Xuema struggled to free her hand. After thinking for a while, she simply asked, "What kind of poison did you use on me again?" Chapter 1924. She was here to change the plot, but she was worried that the established setting would not be easy to change. He had used the method of sleeping with her to cure her of the aphrodisiac. Could it be that there were other poisons in her body that required Shinjuli to cure? If that was the case, he would still be defeated in this battle. "No," Shinjuli answered. His eyes were shining in the dark. "Xuema, what is going on with you?" Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat, but she pretended to be confused. "What do you mean?" "You are obviously the same soul, but your temperament often changes." Ning Xuema lazily replied, "People's temperament will always change." She knew that she could not tell him that she came from 50,000 years in the future, so she thought about it and said something ambiguous. "Just like a person, the temperament of 8 or 9 years old is definitely different from the temperament of 20 years old, right?" Shinjuli looked at her with a deep gaze. "Do you mean that your temperament now is the same as when you grow up?" He was indeed smart. Ning Xuema yawned. "I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. Let's sleep." She simply turned her body and turned her back to him. There was no movement for a long time. Ning Xuema leaned her ear to listen. When she heard that he was still quiet, she was relieved. Did he fall asleep? It was good that he was asleep. Then he would have the energy to fight tomorrow and beat Luo Jiuchen up. As long as he won this fight, history would be changed by her. If history was completely changed, she seemed to have lost the memories of Shuiemo and Ning Xuema. Perhaps, little Nianma would disappear without a trace. Also there was the matter of Shui Yilan. Thinking of Shui Yilan, Ning Xuema's heart ached. That person died for her, but she did not have the ability to resurrect him. Can't sleep? Shen Juli's voice suddenly sounded in her ear. Ning Xuema was shocked. You didn't fall asleep either? You're moving around in my arms. Naturally I can't sleep. Shen Juli bluntly accused. It turned out that Ning Xuema had unknowingly turned over in his arms 3 times. Aya, this is not the time to disturb his rest. Ning Xuema got up and was about to get off the bed. I'll go sleep on the other bed. He stretched out his arm and pulled her back into his embrace. Be good and don't move. It's getting late. We really need to sleep. He closed his eyes. Ning Xuema wanted to cry but no tears came out. It was not easy for her to fall asleep in his arms. Forget it, he was the one who was going to fight tomorrow, not her. If she couldn't sleep now, she could sleep during the day. Is there something on your mind? Shen Juli suddenly asked, but he did not open his eyes. She had so many things on her mind. Now he couldn't even count them. Tell me, I'll solve it for you. Shen Juli hugged her again and rested his chin on her shoulder. His voice sounded lazy. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. She suddenly asked, Guru, if a person, no, a very powerful demon's soul is scattered, can you still summon him back? Shen Juli did not open his eyes. Do you have any subordinates whose souls are scattered? He added, your subordinates are not very reliable. You have to pay attention to them. You can't just use your fists to make them yield. Attacking their hearts is the best, attacking their bodies is the worst. Ning Xuema secretly rolled her eyes. Attacking their hearts is the best, attacking their bodies is the worst, right? Guru. However, Shinjuli was right. Little Xuema's subordinates were indeed very unreliable. They would become her enemies in the future and directly force her into hell. Chapter 1925. Ning Xuema was still thinking about Shui Yilan and didn't want him to change the topic again. God, do you have any ideas? Shen Juli nodded without opening his eyes. I can recall them, but it will take some divine power. Who do you want to save? Ning Xuema breathed a sigh of relief and muttered in her heart, even if I tell you who I want to save now, you won't know, she yawned. I'll tell you later. I'm sleepy. Sleep, sleep. She had to find a way to abduct him 50,000 years later. How should she abduct him? This was a difficult problem. She had so many things on her mind and thought it would still be difficult for her to fall asleep, but she didn't expect that she would fall asleep soon after lying in his arms. When she woke up, it was already bright outside and Shinjuli was nowhere to be seen on the bed. Did he go to the appointment? She sat up and found that her clothes were properly put on. Obviously, Shinjuli had put them on for her. There were several dishes on the table outside the bed and they were steaming hot. There was also a letter on the table with only 4 words on it. Wait for me to come back. She looked at it and saw that it was all her favorite food, so she jumped down, washed up, and ate without hesitation. She actually wanted to go with Shinjuli to watch the battle between him and Luo Jiuchen, but he left without even saying goodbye. She didn't know where they were going to fight, so she couldn't find it. She might as well go with the flow. She always felt that there should be something fishy about why little Xuema was kicked out of the Fantian Palace, so she would stay and see what happened. She didn't have any psychokinesis now, so she was like an ordinary person. After eating, she had to wash the dishes. Fantian Palace was a place where immortals lived, so naturally there was no place to wash dishes. Shinjuli obviously didn't need it, but she had to suffer. Fortunately, she knew that there was a pond in the Fantian Palace. The pond water was so clear that she could drink it directly, let alone wash the dishes. She walked to the lake with a pile of plates and squatted down to wash them. She had just washed 2 plates when suddenly, she felt like she was pushed by a hand from behind. She fell into the lake with a splash. Ning Xuema was an excellent swimmer. After she fell into the lake, she didn't panic. After her body fell into the water, she suddenly rushed forward under the water. After she was 3 or 4 feet away from the shore, she then popped her head out. She saw the woman in white who claimed to be Shinjuli's elder sister, standing by the lake. She was the one who pushed her into the water. A dark light flashed in Ning Xuema's eyes. She knew that there was something fishy about this Fantian Palace. Now the fishy thing was here. Was this so-called sister also a peach blossom that liked Shinjuli? Shinjuli had so many admirers. It was so troublesome to pinch them one by one. Ning Xuema paddled twice in the water and looked at her on the shore. The woman in white was also looking at her. Her eyes were a little cold and even a little condescending. This lake is a sacred lake. It must not be tainted by any filthy things. Why are you washing dishes by the lake? Don't you understand this? The woman in white reprimanded her first. Ning Xuema looked up at her and asked, "Does this Fantian palace belong to Jolie or you?" The woman choked. "What do you mean?" Ning Xuema said lightly, "Julie asked me to wash the dishes here, but you said that I can't. In this Fantian palace, do you think you can make decisions for Julie?" She believed that Shin Julie would never punish her for such a trivial matter. She simply used him to shut the woman's mouth. Shin Julie was not in the palace, and her little body had lost its power. It would not be good for her to fight with this woman. Chapter 1926. Ning Xuema understood this very well. Sure enough, when she said that it was Shin Julie's instruction, the woman's arrogance was reduced. She pursed her lips and said, "Julie likes cleanliness. He wouldn't ask you to wash the dishes here. Where else can I wash if not here?" Ning Xuema raised her eyebrows. This was the only place in the whole Fantian palace that had water. The woman looked at the greasy bowls and chopsticks on the ground. She flicked her sleeves and cast a cleaning spell. The plates and bowls were clean and new. The woman's voice was cold and proud. "Isn't this good?" Ning Xuema climbed ashore from the other side. She twisted her drenched clothes and wrinkled her eyebrows. Damn it, it was so troublesome without psychokinesis. She looked at the clean plates and bowls. Her eyes curved into crescents. She smiled and said, "This is really convenient. Sister, since you said so, you must have promised to wash the dishes for me in the future. Well, I'll send the used bowls and bowls directly to your room and let you cast this spell." The woman was speechless. Her face turned cold. "I'm not your sister. Don't call me that." Ning Xuema opened her eyes wide. "What do you mean by calling me that? Since Julie calls you sister, as his wife, I naturally have to call you sister." She had an innocent look on her face, which made the woman choke on her words. The woman's pretty face turned pale. Julie won't marry you." Ning Xuema raised her eyebrows. "We have slept together and he has promised to marry me. How do you know that he won't marry me?" The woman's face changed and she blurted out, "You slept together?" She looked at Ning Xuema's petite body. "I don't believe it." When Ning Xuema woke up, she discovered that she had reverted back to her appearance when she was 12 or 13 years old. Currently, her face was still childish and her eyes were big and round. Ning Xuema didn't need to look in the mirror to know that she was very cute right now. The woman knew Shinjoli's character better. She knew that he would never lay his hands on a little girl. In fact, he was not interested in any woman at all. However, he made an exception for this little devil master. Not only did he bring her into the palace, he even slept with her at night. Even during the day they were practically glued together. She was shocked and angry at the same time. She looked left and right at the little lowly, but she couldn't find anything good about her. The woman in white knew that they were sleeping together. She even reminded Shinjoli about this, implying that he had to be considerate. However, Shinjoli turned a deaf ear to her advice and continued to do his own thing. Sleeping together was possible, but in the same room? Impossible, right? Perhaps this little girl didn't even know what it meant to sleep in the same room. "You know what it means to sleep in the same room?" the woman asked casually. Ning Xuema glanced at her and then looked at her again. Her bright eyes made the woman's hair stand on end. "Why are you looking at me like this?" Ning Xuema tilted her head and looked at her. "Sister, you're not married yet, right?" The woman was speechless. "So what?" "Sister, as an unmarried woman, it's not appropriate for you to talk about sleeping in the same room or not, right?" Ning Xuema's face was still as naive as before, but it was enough to infuriate people to death. "I feel that you should discuss this matter with your husband in the future. He will naturally teach you." That white-clothed woman was not prepared for her to say such indecent words. Her charming face flushed red. "You... nonsense." Chapter 1927. Ning Xuema blinked her eyes. "Does sister think I'm wrong? Sister doesn't want to discuss the matter of sharing a room with my future brother-in-law, but only with a little girl like me?" The white-clothed woman's living environment was clearly a lot simpler than Ning Xuema's. She was also much more ethereal. Hearing Ning Xuema's words, she was infuriated. Her eyebrows raised. "Are all devils so uneducated? Why do you keep saying that you're in the same room as me?" Ning Xuema's eyes widened even more. "Isn't sister the one who brought this up? Sister also keeps on talking about sharing a room, it's very cheerful. When the woman in white met her, she felt like a scholar meeting a soldier, unable to explain herself. Her pretty face turned red then white, white then red, her fingers clenched and then put down. Ning Xuema also felt that it's about time, at this time she should stop while she's ahead. She smiled gently, smiling brightly at the woman in white. Well, I won't discuss this matter with sister, it's embarrassing. Sister can go all out, but I'm thin-skinned so I can't. Goodbye sister, later if there are any dirty bowls and chopsticks I'll send them to sister. She hugged the clean bowls and chopsticks and turned to leave. The woman in white held back for a moment, then coldly said, "You're not allowed to call me sister." "Well, I won't call you that, then I'm leaving. Any goodbye." Ning Xuema didn't even turn her head, she just waved her hand and disappeared like a wisp of smoke. The woman in white. Auntie? Auntie, am I really that old? She couldn't help but look at herself in the mirror by the lake. Her white dress fluttered, her facial features were beautiful, and there wasn't a single wrinkle on her face. She looked at Ning Xuema's back disappearing into the cover of the flowers and trees, then suddenly smiled, her smile seemed to contain a deep meaning. Ning Xuema was practicing martial arts. Because her small body had suffered from qi deviation once, her tendons and veins were blocked, so her mental power was blocked. Therefore she was unable to practice martial arts. Shen Jiuli had obviously been helping her recuperate for the past few days. Whether it was the food he gave her or the tea she drank, they all had the meaning of medicine. He even taught her a set of recovery skills so that she could cultivate whenever she was free. Ning Xuema was sitting cross-legged on the cloud bed in Shen Jiuli's bedroom. She was deep in thought. The conclusion was that Xuema's expulsion from the palace must have something to do with this woman in white. She had Xuema's memories, so she knew that the woman in white had come to Fantian Palace 3 days ago. At that time little Xuema had just woken up. Shen Jiuli gave her a very simple introduction, saying that this woman was called Miao Fan, a very Buddhist name. He asked her to call this woman elder sister. When Shen Jiuli was in front of her, Miao Fan was still kind to her. But when Shen Jiuli was not in front of her, the way she looked at little Xuema was not very friendly. But she didn't do anything else. This Miao Fan's cooking skills were very good. For the past 3 days she had been sending delicious food to Shen Jiuli every day. Shen Jiuli ate very little. Basically, little Xuema, this greedy little girl, had taken advantage of it. Little Xuema had a simple temperament and didn't know the sinister nature of people's hearts. She also didn't notice the unfriendliness towards Miao Fan. She even had a good impression of Miao Fan because she ate a few meals of Miao Fan's food. It seemed that she had foolishly invited Miao Fan to visit her Mo palace when she had time. She would take her to see the exclusive Devil's Snare blood flower. This Miao Fan had lived for many years. Since she claimed to be Shen Jiuli's elder sister, she must be older than him. Naturally, little Xuema couldn't compare with her scheming. Chapter 1928. Ning Xuema rubbed the space between her brows. If she hadn't transmigrated over, according to the original setting, Shen Jiuli would have used a forbidden technique to cure her of the aphrodisiac or whatever poison. She would have lost half of her divine power and he would definitely go into seclusion to recover. In that case, when he was in seclusion, there would only be this Miao Fan and Xuema alone. If Shen Jiuli didn't leave the palace, no matter how much this Miao Fan disliked little Xuema, she wouldn't do anything. However, once Shen Jiuli left the palace, Fantian Palace would become her territory. In that case, how would she deal with little Xuema? Little Xuema wouldn't care about verbal attacks. Even though she was reckless, she should know that she wouldn't have a good ending once she left Fantian Palace. According to the development of history 50,000 years ago, Shen Jiuli was severely injured in this battle. In that case, was little Xuema chased out of the palace before or after he returned? The version that Mother Earth said that was circulating in the martial world was that Shen Jiuli had personally injured little Xuema before throwing her out. Ning Xuema didn't believe in this version. She felt that there should be more to it. This Miao Fan had a strong enmity towards little Xuema. According to the development of history, Shen Jiuli was severely injured when he went out to spar with Luo Jiuqian. Could it be that after he returned, this Miao Fan would talk bad about little Xuema in front of Shen Jiuli to sow discord, causing Shen Jiuli to vent all his anger on little Xuema? No. Shen Jiuli wasn't such a person. He wasn't someone who would easily believe slanderous words. Otherwise, this Miao Fan deliberately put on a show when Shen Jiuli returned, so that Shen Jiuli could see little Xuema's unreasonable and overbearing side, thus provoking him to be ruthless towards little Xuema? But it didn't seem right. Little Shuima had lost all her martial arts. What could she have done to anger Shinjuli? Although little Shuima was very naughty in the situation where she had lost her power, she couldn't do anything too outrageous even if she wanted to. Ning Shuima overturned all kinds of assumptions in the blink of an eye. She was having a headache from thinking about it. He decided not to think about it anymore and sat down to meditate to recover. Shinjuli had been out for 2 days and still hadn't returned. Ning Shuima's heart was in turmoil. Could it be that the trajectory of history could not be changed? Shinjuli was still injured? These 2 days she had been living quite comfortably. Shinjuli had actually left her a very exquisite arrangement in his bedroom. Every time it was time to eat, a table of food would appear in his bedroom. The amount was neither too much nor too little, just enough for Ning Shuima to eat. Moreover, these dishes always looked like they had just been prepared. They were steaming hot, fresh and delicious. This made Ning Shuima feel somewhat puzzled while she was eating heartily. She had already studied the table 4 or 5 times, but she still couldn't figure out where these dishes came from. As for washing the dishes, Ning Shuima kept her promise. She didn't wash them by the lake but directly sent them to Miao Fan's room. She smiled and asked her to use the cleaning technique to clean them. Miao Fan was sometimes impatient. She would wave her sleeves and turn those bowls and plates into a pile of fragments. She just shrugged her shoulders and didn't take it seriously. It was just a pile of bowls and plates. If they were broken, then so be it. In any case, new plates would be sent to her. The reason why she wanted to clean the old ones was because she didn't want them to look too dirty. The next night, Ning Shuima sent another plate of bowls to her. This time, Miao Fan didn't know what was wrong with her. She was actually kind to her. Shuima, you are Shuima, right? Did I tell you the story of me and Julie? Do you want to hear it? Chapter 1929. Ning Shuima pulled a stool from the side and sat down. She held her chin with her hand and showed a look of interest. Please speak. Miao Fan was choked by her look and only then did she open her mouth. She talked about a lot of things including a bunch of random things. Ning Shuima gave her a brief summary. First, Shinjuli crawled out of a lotus. When he first came out, he was thought to be a lotus demon because he looked cute and was adopted by the water lily deity. Miao Fan was the water lily deity's daughter. The two of them grew up together as childhood sweethearts. It could not be said that they grew up together because Shinjuli grew up too fast. He already looked like an adult in a year. Miao Fan grew up step by step. When Shinjuli grew up, she still looked like an 8 or 9-year-old child. At this time, Miao Fan's mother finally understood that Shinjuli was not a lotus demon but a unique god. He had many miracles on him. The mother and daughter felt that they had found a treasure. Miao Fan's mother had the idea of not letting others take advantage of her. She had been secretly proposing marriage to Shinjuli, saying that he and Miao Fan were childhood sweethearts and that they were a match made in heaven. Second, according to Miao Fan, Shinjuli had already agreed but they were not in a hurry to get married. They still cultivated separately. She came this time to discuss the wedding date with Shinjuli. At the end, Miao Fan looked at Ning Shuima generously. Although there is nothing between you and Jolie, you have lived in his palace. If this spreads, it will affect your reputation. I can persuade Jolie to take you as his concubine, but you have to wait until you grow up. You can't be so young. After she finished speaking, her eyes were fixed on Ning Shuima's face. She wanted to see her sad face. She did not expect Ning Shuima to listen to her excitedly. She laughed. So you are his childhood sweetheart, auntie? When he comes back you can tell him about your plan. After saying that, she skipped away with the plate in her arms, causing Miao Fan to choke. After Ning Shuima returned to her room, she secretly analyzed the situation. This childhood sweetheart should be real. Even Miao Fan's mother wanted to use the favor of raising him to force him to marry Miao Fan should be true. But the so-called Shinjuli's promise was obviously nonsense. Ning Shuima had been in love with Shinjuli for 3 lifetimes. She had long known his temperament. If he wanted to marry someone, he would marry her immediately. He would not have so many scruples. Moreover, judging from Shinjuli's attitude towards Miao Fan, there was a faint sense of alienation. Even if Miao Fan deliberately tried to get close to him, it wouldn't work. How was it possible for him to fall in love with her? If Shinjuli did not love someone, he would not marry her. This Miao Fan could not be the same as Lizine, needing to have a marriage agreement with him to pass the lightning tribulation, right? Lizine was a waste, but this Miao Fan was not. According to Ning Shuima's pair of vicious eyes, this Miao Fan's power had at least reached heaven rank level 6. She could be considered as a genius. She should not have the same experience as Lu Ziyin. So Miao Fan's last words were a lie. Shenjuli only treated her as his foster sister. It was even more impossible for him to discuss the wedding date with her. Ning Xuema slightly analyzed and understood the key point. She smiled to herself. Trying to use such words to deceive her? No way. Unless it was to deceive a child. Thinking of this, her heart suddenly moved. She naturally did not believe these words. But what about little Xuema? Would she believe it? That year, this Miao Fan must have said similar words to little Xuema. What would her reaction be? Chapter 1930. Miao Fan must have said similar things to little Xuema in the past. What would her reaction be? She had been entangled with him for 3 lifetimes before she completely understood his character and character. Little Xuema only blindly worshipped and liked him. She was afraid that she didn't understand this person. She didn't even understand what a real husband and wife should do. When Miao Fan's words fell into her ears, even if she didn't completely believe it, she was afraid that she would be skeptical. However, with her straightforward character, if she had doubts in her heart, she would immediately ask Shenjuli. Then wouldn't Miao Fan be exposed? On the 3rd day, Shenjuli still didn't come back. The news in Fantian Palace was blocked, and Ning Xuema couldn't go out. She began to feel a little anxious. Was Shenjuli still defeated? History didn't change? She was upset, so she ran to Shenjuli's study to look for books to read. She still had to refine the heaven's water poison to restrain Luo Jiuqian, and Shenjuli's study had a lot of books about refining medicine. She often looked for books about this type of book to read in the study these days. She sat at the desk and was absorbed in reading. Suddenly she smelled a strange smell. The smell was like something burned, but the smell was very light. There was also sandalwood in the room, so the burning smell was mixed with the sandalwood and it was very difficult to smell. When Ning Xuema noticed it, there was a fire in the corner of the bookcase in the study. It was on fire. She hurriedly patted it, but she didn't expect that the more she patted, the more the fire burned. If she still had her psychokinesis, she could naturally extinguish the fire with a fire-extinguishing spell, but she didn't have any psychokinesis now. She could only use the ordinary way to extinguish the fire. But she walked around the study and couldn't find a drop of water. Then she ran outside and wanted to dig some soil to extinguish the fire. But the ground in Fantian Palace was basically covered with green jade and small stones. It looked beautiful at ordinary times, but it was difficult to dig some soil. At this time, she didn't have time to think about anything else. She hurriedly picked up a large vase and ran towards the lake. Fortunately, the lake was not far from the study. Ning Xuema hurriedly drank a bottle of water. When she looked back, she paused for a moment. In just a short moment, the study room was already ablaze. The flame rose to a height of 30 feet, making a loud noise. It was definitely not something that a vase of water could extinguish. Pa! The vase in Ning Xuema's hand fell to the ground and smashed into pieces. The water inside spilled all over the floor. What should they do? When Ning Xuema and little Nianma were living together, they often visited Shenjuli's study room. Naturally, they were familiar with the layout of his study room and the collection of books in it. In the past few days when she was reading in the study room, she found that there were many books that didn't exist even after 50,000 years. Many of them were treasures that should be collected. At that time she was a little puzzled. Why didn't these books exist after 50,000 years? So it was burned. This was most likely Miao Fan's trick to set up little Xuema. Little Xuema was not very fond of reading. She even hated it a little. Shenjuli knew this. If little Xuema was at home, Shenjuli would definitely ask Miao Fan to supervise little Xuema to read when he went out. Miao Fan would make a fuss about it. When little Xuema was in the study room, she secretly hid something to set the bookshelf on fire. She burned Shenjuli's books. When Shenjuli returned, she would complain about it. That way, little Xuema would not be able to explain herself. She was most likely injured and kicked out of Fantian Palace because of this. Chapter 1931. Was what was supposed to happen finally happening? Was Shenjuli that easy to fool? She looked at the raging flames and did not react. There was no one else in the Fantian Palace. The 8 mythological beasts were still in their petrified state and could not put out the fire. As for Miao Fan, she was probably hiding in the dark and would definitely not come out to save her. However, even if she knew it was useless, she still had to call for help. Otherwise, Miao Fan would have more to say. She was about to call for Miao Fan when the sky suddenly darkened and heavy rain fell from the sky. The heavy rain was very strange. It only poured down on the study room, but the sun was still shining in other places. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. Did Shinjuli come back? Or did Miao Fan think that the fire was almost done and it was time to put on a show? She ran toward the study room. She saw two people standing in front of the study room from afar. The girl in white and the man in white were casting spells to summon the water from the sky to extinguish the fire in the study room. Ning Xuema deeply felt that the speed and method of extinguishing the fire was more effective than a fireman's sprinkler. It covered all directions without any blind spots. The man in white was Shinjuli. He seemed to have noticed something and turned his head toward Ning Xuema. The girl in white was naturally Miao Fan. She also looked at Ning Xuema. Xuema. Miao Fan immediately rushed over. Child, what happened to you? Weren't you reading in the study room? Where did you go just now? Jiuli thought that you were burned inside and rushed in to find you. She talked a lot and secretly hung a bucket of shit on top of Ning Xuema's head. At this time, the fire in the study room had been completely extinguished. Shinjuli coldly glanced at Ning Xuema. His gaze was as cold as ice and snow. A timid person would be frightened by his gaze. I was reading in the study room. The easternmost bookshelf suddenly caught fire. I don't have any psychokinesis, so I could only get water to save it. Ning Xuema explained. That's strange. The light in the study is from a luminous pearl, not a candle. Why would it suddenly catch fire? Can't be. Xuema, I know you don't like to read, but the books in Jiuli's study are all rare and precious. Every book is the result of his hard work. You can't burn them even if you don't like to read them. You brat, I just went to sit down for a while and you got yourself into such a mess. You even lied. Miao Fan finally put the blame on Xuema's head. Apparently, she had already thought of this speech long ago. There was not a single flaw in it. Ning Xuema's heart was already as bright as snow. She finally understood how little Xuema was framed that year. She had long known that Shinjuli loved books. Back then she had accidentally burned one of his books and was punished by him. Now she had burned an entire library of books. Therefore, it was reasonable for Shinjuli to punish little Nianma when he was furious. She secretly took a deep breath. At that time, little Xuema and Shinjuli were not intimate. Shinjuli also knew that little Xuema did not like to read. Therefore, he believed what Miao Fan said. But now, would he believe her now? She looked at Shinjuli and asked, "Do you believe me?" Shinjuli was expressionless. His voice was still cold. The truth is right here. How do you expect me to believe you? There was nothing in the study room that could have caused the fire. The only possibility is that it was man-made. And you were the only one in the study room. Chapter 1932. However, this time it was indeed man-made. But who knows if someone deliberately framed me and put something that could easily ignite the fire in the corner of the study room in advance. At a certain time it would automatically burn. I did go to the lake to get water to put out the fire. The vase is still there. You can go to the lake to take a look. Ning Xuema's words had a hidden meaning. Miao Fan's face slightly changed. Xuema, what do you mean by this? There are only you and me in this Fantian palace. You said someone framed you, are you talking about me? Ning Xuema pursed her thin lips. Whoever did it knows clearly. Miao Fan chuckled and looked at Shinjuli. Julie, look at her. She has been caught red-handed by you and yet she is still slandering you. She probably didn't know that half of these books were my collection. Usually, I would feel distressed if a corner was missing. Why would she want to set all these books on fire? Just to frame a child? This is too unreasonable. Xuema, besides, you and I don't have any enmity between us. How could I use this method to harm you? You child. Alas, after all, you are a demon. You can't be raised properly. His words were so dignified that no one could find the slightest flaw in them. Ning Xuema glanced at Miao Fan. If this girl was in the palace, she would definitely be an expert in palace fights. I just don't like to write. It's not that I don't like to read. Even if you don't like to read, you can just not read. Why would you burn the study room? He has always loved books. You know that, so do I. Now that I have lost my power and am living under someone else's roof, am I looking for trouble by burning his study room? Do you think I am so stupid? Ning Xuema asked back. Although Miao Fan had taken the blame for this, whether she accepted it or not was another matter. As for what you said about having no grievances with me, that is just your excuse. You like him and want to take him away from me. Therefore you set up this vicious plan to frame me. You are indeed a good person. Miao Fan did not expect Ning Xuema to be so eloquent. She stared blankly for a moment before she suddenly burst into laughter. She looked at Xinjiuli and said, "Jiuli, with our current relationship, do I still need to resort to such underhanded means to take you away from her? Oh, that's right, she doesn't seem to believe that you and I are already engaged. Why don't you tell her so that she won't deny her wrongdoings?" Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. Was the engagement between her and Xinjiuli real? She also looked at Xinjiuli. Xinjiuli's eyes were cold. "Devil Master, Miao Fan and I are indeed engaged. Miao Fan is my fiancé." Ning Xuema's face turned pale and she couldn't help but take a step back. Are Xinjiuli and Miao Fan really engaged? It can't be. Then how could he still have sex with her so unscrupulously? He even said that he wanted to marry her? Miao Fan sighed at the side. "Jiuli, I don't want your name to be damaged. Look at her pestering you time and time again. She is also infatuated with you. Originally, for the sake of both of your reputations, I wanted to wait for you to come back and persuade you to take her as your concubine. I didn't expect her to be so insatiable that she wanted to monopolize you. Now I understand why she burned the study room. She must have wanted to frame me. Fortunately, the heavens pitied her and you came back just in time. She was so desperate that she decided to bite back." Chapter 1933. It had to be said that Miao Fan was well prepared. Her words were clear and logical, easily refuting Ning Xuema's words. Ning Xuema's mind was roaring. Compared to burning down the study room, she was more concerned about Xinjiuli and Miao Fan's engagement. If he didn't say it himself, she wouldn't believe it no matter what. Now that she heard him admit it, she felt that she was hallucinating. So after half a day she was a mistress 50,000 years ago? Xinjiuli actually made her a mistress. Why didn't he say it when he was rolling in the sheets with her? Could it be that in his heart he still wanted his wife and concubine to live together? But if that was the case, why was he so cold towards Miao Fan? It didn't seem like his attitude towards his fiancée. At this moment, Ning Xuema's mind was filled with these questions. This truth was like a bucket of ice water poured down on her head, chilling her from head to toe. Her first reaction was, did he lie again? Could it be that he had no choice but to tell such a lie? But what was the reason behind his reluctance? Her mind was in a mess and she didn't hear Miao Fan's words at all. In fact, she didn't need to listen. The truth was right there. No matter how much she and Miao Fan said, it was just a war of words. It depended on who Xinjiuli believed. Or who he would rather believe. "Devil Lord, what else do you have to say now?" Xinjiuli walked over step by step and stood 10 feet away from her. He stared at her intently. "I know you have always been bold and reckless, but I didn't expect you to be so reckless to this extent. I have really misjudged you." Ning Xuema felt cold from head to toe. He said that, did he believe Miao Fan? So whether Xinjiuli was injured or not, she had to walk the same path as Devil Lord Xuema? She stared at Xinjiuli's face and her lips suddenly hooked up. "You only believe her?" Xinjiuli said coldly, "I only believe what I see with my own eyes. Let me ask you, were you the only one in the study when the fire broke out?" "Yes." "Miao Fan wasn't even there and you still want to slander her? She can put flammable things inside in advance." "Nonsense." Xinjiuli approached step by step. Miao Fan has always been well-educated and reasonable, and has never been jealous of others. She is famous in the immortal world for standing aloof from worldly affairs. Why would she use such despicable means to harm you? Do you mean that my reputation in the 6 realms is not good, so you're willing to believe her this time? Ning Xuema was so angry that she laughed. You know your own reputation in the 6 realms. In order to get what he wanted, he would do anything. I thought you were just a child's possessiveness, so I've always spoiled you and spoiled you. I didn't expect you to do such a thing this time. I originally had no interest in you, but because I raised you, I tolerated your various actions. Now that you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being ruthless." Xinjiuli's voice was cold. He raised his sleeve and slapped Ning Xuema's chest. When he slapped, his sleeve brought up a gust of wind. Before his palm arrived, the wind from his palm arrived first. Even though Ning Xuema had lost her psychokinesis, her body movements were still extremely nimble. Especially the footwork she learned as a secret agent, which was similar to the wave-like subtle steps. Even though this set of footwork's attack power was not strong, it was a top-notch escape technique. Chapter 1934. What's more, she knew the plot in advance. As soon as she saw Shinjuli raise his sleeves slightly, she knew something was wrong and was on full alert. Before his palm reached her, she had already retreated 10 feet at a strange angle like flowing water, just avoiding Shinjuli's palm. However, she couldn't avoid the wind from his palm and was hit by it. He was really ruthless to her. If she couldn't avoid this palm, she would be seriously injured. Something's wrong? Ning Xuema suddenly raised her head and looked at Shinjuli's face. His appearance was right, his figure was right, and his voice was right, but his aura was wrong. Shinjuli had a very special cold fragrance on his body, but that cold fragrance was very faint. One could only smell it if they were very close to him. Moreover, when he attacked with his palm, the aura of the wind from his palm was the same as his own aura. However, the wind from his palm was different from the aura that Ning Xuema usually smelled. Of course, the difference was very small. If one didn't have a very sensitive sense of smell, they wouldn't be able to smell it. Of course, Shinjuli had very few opportunities for people to get close to him. If Ning Xuema didn't have skin contact with him, she wouldn't be able to tell. When she raised her head, Shinjuli's second palm was already coming over. This palm was more ruthless than the first palm, and the coverage area suddenly increased by several times. It was difficult for Ning Xuema to avoid it again. Bang! The sound rang out. Ning Xuema was finally hit and she rolled away. Her chest felt stuffy. She struggled on the ground but she couldn't get up. Instead, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Shinjuli looked at her condescendingly. Seeing that I raised you, I won't take your life. From today onwards, get out of Fantian Palace. I don't want to see you again. Ning Xuema slowly stood up bit by bit. Her face was as white as snow. She looked at him with a gaze that contained disbelief, shock, anger, and hatred. Shinjuli, I hate you. She spat out, I don't want to see you again. She seemed to be extremely angry and sad. Tears welled up in her big eyes, but she forced them back. She turned around and slowly walked out of the room. That lonely and desolate figure walked out of Fantian Palace step by step. Behind her back, Shinjuli didn't urge her to stay. Of course, Miao Fan didn't either. The palace door slowly closed behind her. Ning Xuema stood at the entrance of the palace. She seemed to be in a daze. She hugged her arms and squatted down. Her entire body was trembling as if she was suppressing something. After a while, she stood up and looked back at the gate of Fantian Palace. Her fingers were clenched tightly. Shinjuli, I hate you. She couldn't help but cry out as tears slid down her cheeks. Even if you beg me in the future, I won't come back. After saying this, she turned around and left. This time she didn't look back. She walked past a few corners and directly turned into a Bodhi forest before stopping. The branches and leaves in the Bodhi forest were swaying. She looked around and coughed. She took out a handkerchief and spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn it, my tongue hurts so much. Pretending to vomit blood was also a skill. She had to bite the tip of her tongue and bite it deeper. Are you really injured? A voice suddenly came from behind her. Then, her waist was tightened and she fell into a warm embrace. Then, she flew up like she was riding a cloud and landed on a branch with dense leaves. Ning Xuema didn't have time to turn her head around before her wrist was grabbed by someone. 3 fingers were placed on her wrist. Chapter 1935. She obediently laid in his arms and let him check her pulse. After a while, his voice sounded again. Xuema, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Ning Xuema nodded and answered honestly, yes, my tongue hurts. Her body was turned around, and Ning Xuema finally came face to face with the person behind her. He was wearing a wide white robe that was as white as snow. His handsome face was like that of a celestial being. Ning Xuema couldn't be more familiar with this person. Shinjuli. Open your mouth. Shinjuli was always so concise. Ning Xuema obediently opened her mouth and showed him the tip of her tongue. There was indeed a wound on the tip of her tongue. She had bitten it quite hard and it was still bleeding. Shinjuli's eyes darkened. He suddenly pressed her against him and covered her lips with his woo-woo. Her tongue was already injured like this and he still wanted to kiss her? It would hurt even more if he kissed her. Ning Xuema subconsciously wanted to avoid him, but he had always been very strong. She did not have any skills now, so she could only passively let him kiss her. The tip of his tongue was cool. When it entered her mouth, he applied some medicine on the wound. It actually stopped the pain in an instant and the wound healed very quickly. So he kissed her to apply medicine for her. Ning Xuema did not struggle anymore. She obediently stayed in his arms and let him kiss her. After the kiss, her tongue was almost healed. Shinjuli slightly let go of her. There was a trace of displeasure in his eyes. Why did you bite so deeply? Ning Xuema pursed her lips. You secretly blocked his palm and told me to pretend to be seriously injured. Since I was seriously injured, how could I not spit out a few mouthfuls of blood? I could only bite the tip of my tongue. The tip of her tongue did not hurt anymore and her spirit came back a lot. She hugged his arm and her eyes were shining. How was it? Did I act like it just now? His gaze, actions and tone, I noticed it all. Shinjuli looked at her complacent little face and made a forward comment. Perfect. He was almost fooled by her. When he saw her spit out a few mouthfuls of blood, he thought that he hadn't blocked the attack well enough. In the end, he let someone hurt her. He looked at her in his arms. This little girl was simply too smart. Because everything happened too quickly, he didn't have the time to remind her. He only told her to pretend to be heavily injured and then leave. After blocking that palm strike for her, he didn't have the time to say anything else. From now on, she would have to improvise. He didn't expect this girl to have such a skill. Ning Xuema looked at him with a smile. Can you tell me your plan now? She had done the most important thing with him in bed and as expected, history had changed a little. Shinjuli wasn't injured this time so he could come back in time to save her and beat them at their own game. The real history was that Shinjuli was heavily injured in that battle and hid somewhere to recuperate. Then Luo Jiuchen pretended to be Shinjuli and came back to act in front of little Xuema. Little Xuema had never been intimate with Shinjuli, so she naturally believed it and left with serious injuries. Shinjuli's eyes flashed slightly and he rubbed her head. Wait here obediently. I'll go and deal with those two people first. Ning Xuema pulled him back and quickly told him a few words. Just take advantage of the situation. Now Luo Jiuchen's trick can't be exposed directly. Believe me, this is very important. It will definitely be good for you and me. This show must go on. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.